The tray hit the concrete before she did. Mariah Woods knelt in a residential alley behind her building, picking up bread that didn't belong to her anymore. 26. Black. Front desk secretary at a community health clinic, on her one day off, with 73 coins counted on her kitchen table and a prescription her aunt couldn't skip. The man slumped against the brick wall, watched her without moving. His suit was wool, tailored, ruined, right knee torn, left shoulder torn, dried blood at the collar of a white shirt that had cost more than her rent. A steel-cased watch on his wrist kept catching the morning light. He hadn't given her his name. He had only said 3 words. Don't call police. She didn't. She brought him water in a chipped glass. She brought him the half loaf she'd been saving for Thursday. She knelt again, because his right leg was twisted under him, and she could see he wouldn't take it standing. The black ink of a tiger curled out from under his torn collar, head at the jaw, body sliding down toward the collarbone. She didn't ask about it. Across the alley, a phone went up. Derek lifted his camera. Tasha laughed. Leah pressed record. "Crippled Beggar," somebody said, loud enough for the wall to hear. Her manager Denise was already calling. Her job was already shaking. She still hadn't asked his name. What she didn't know was that the watch on his wrist was already recording every face in the alley. Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. Mariah Woods counted the coins on the kitchen counter twice before she trusted the number. $11.40. The bread was $3. The prescription was $7. That left $1.40 for the bus if her aunt's fever climbed again, and the clinic on Burnside refused to call it an emergency. She slid the coins into the inside pocket of the olive green tote, the one with the broken zipper she had fixed twice with dental floss, and pulled the strap over her shoulder. The apartment behind her was still dark. Aunt Lucille slept the way sick people sleep, with the chest rising too slow and the mouth half open like a question nobody had answered. Mariah stood in the doorway of the bedroom for 3 seconds, long enough to count the breaths, short enough to leave before her aunt felt her watching. She closed the door without the latch clicking. In the narrow hallway, the radiator banged twice. Somewhere on the floor below, a man shouted at a woman, and the woman shouted back louder. Mariah did not flinch. She had lived in the building for 4 years, and she knew the rhythm of every fight the way other people knew the rhythm of their own pulse. She locked the door behind her, pulled the chain across, and started down the stairs. Her phone buzzed on the second landing. She did not need to look. She knew the time and she knew the name. Denise Porter sent the same message every Saturday at 7:14 in the morning, sometimes 7:15 if the woman had been delayed by her coffee. Mariah read it on the third landing under the light that flickered. Reminder: punctuality on Monday is not optional. We will be discussing the dress code policy in the staff meeting. I trust you understand. She did not write back. Writing back was a trap. She had learned that in the second month at the clinic, when she had answered one of Denise's notes with the word understood, and Denise had pulled her aside the following morning to ask whether the period at the end of understood had been a sigh in writing. Mariah put the phone away. On the fourth landing, she stopped to check the prescription slip. It was folded into a small square in the back pocket of the dark denim jeans. She unfolded it. She read the name of the medicine for her aunt, the dosage, the pharmacy stamp. She refolded it. She put it back. She had done that motion 11 times that week. She had stopped counting only because counting made her angry, and anger made her slow, and slow was a luxury she could not buy. Outside the front door of the building, the sky had the color of an old bedsheet. Saturday morning on her street meant trash bags still on the curb, the kid who delivered the Korean paper already gone, the laundromat sign half lit on the corner. Mariah pulled the strap of the tote higher on her shoulder and turned left toward the bodega. She turned left because the bodega on the right charged 40 cents more for the same bread. 40 cents was the bus. She crossed the first intersection on a steady walk. She did not run. She had learned not to run on this block. A black woman running on Saturday morning was a black woman who somebody might ask a question. She walked at the pace of a person who belonged exactly where she was. The wind cut down the avenue and pulled her sleeve against her arm. The light cream blouse caught the early gray of the sky and held it. The collarbone, the line of the V, the small gold studs at the ears. She had dressed the way she always dressed on her day off. Plain, clean, nothing to apologize for. A man at the bus stop watched her cross. She did not look back. The bodega smelled of cardboard and old fruit and the wax they used on the floors. Mr. Halim was behind the register, his glasses on the top of his head where he forgot them every morning. He nodded at her. She nodded back. She went to the bread shelf at the rear. There were 2 loaves left. One was $1 more than the other. She took the cheaper one and held it under her arm. At the counter, she put the loaf down and pulled out 3 single bills. "Saturday again," Mr. Halim said. "Saturday again," she said. "Your aunt." "Better than last week," he nodded. He gave her the change in coins because the register was out of small bills. She felt the weight of the coins fall back into her palm, and she did not look at them. She would count them outside, where nobody could see her counting. "Be careful out there," he said. She looked up at him. He was looking past her, through the window, toward the avenue. "Why?" she said. 3 black cars went up Walden at 6. 2 came back at 6:30. The third one did not come back. Mariah followed his eyes. Walden was the avenue that ran along the back of her building. Walden had the residential alley. She had walked through that alley 900 times. "Maybe they were lost," she said. "Maybe," Mr. Halim said. He did not believe it. She could tell from the way he wiped the counter at the same spot twice. "Be careful." She put the coins in the inside pocket of the tote. She picked up the bread. She walked out. At the door, she almost collided with a man coming in. Reddish-brown hair under a cap turned backwards. Navy polo with a small logo on the chest. He stepped sideways and grinned, and the grin had teeth that had not been worth fixing. "Sorry, sweetheart," Derek Halloran said. Mariah did not answer. Behind him, a woman laughed. Long auburn waves, neon pink nails wrapped around an oversized phone case, a cropped white t-shirt that did not reach the high waist of her jeans. Tasha Brennan. Tasha lived 2 buildings down, and Tasha had filmed a fight outside the bodega in March that had ended with a woman's nose broken and 12,000 views on the same afternoon. "She's busy, baby," Tasha said. "Saturday clinic shift." "It's my day off," Mariah said. The words were out before she chose them. "Then where are you running to?" Tasha said. "Home." Derek let the door fall behind him and stepped inside the bodega without looking at her again. Tasha looked once more. The pink nails tapped the phone case twice. Then she turned and followed Derek. Mariah stood on the sidewalk for one breath. She made herself walk slow. On the corner, she stopped to count. $8.40. She did the subtraction without thinking. The bus, the prescription, the bread already in her hand. The number worked if the pharmacy still honored last month's coupon. The number did not work if it did not. She turned the corner onto Walden. The residential alley was the second cut on the left, between the brick wall of her building and the brick wall of the rear of a closed laundromat. It was narrow. 2 trash bins, a busted streetlight that the city had promised to fix the year before last, and the back fire escape of the Korean grocery on the next block. Mariah used it because it cut 3 minutes off her walk to the pharmacy. 3 minutes was something. She stepped into the mouth of the alley. Then she stopped. A man was sitting against the brick wall on the far side, where the drain ran. His legs were straight out in front of him. His right knee was bent at the wrong angle. There was dust on his cuffs and dust in his hair, and his head was tilted back against the brick, the way men tilt their heads when they are deciding whether to keep being conscious. Mariah did not move. He was wearing a suit. The suit had been expensive. She knew the difference between an expensive suit and a cheap one because the clinic served a board of donors twice a year, and she had served them coffee. The wool of this suit was the wool of the donor coffee. Black, tailored, torn now at the right knee where the bone pushed up against the fabric, and torn at the left shoulder where the seam had given. His shirt had been white. There was a brown stain at the collar. The top 3 buttons were gone. Under the open shirt, along the left side of his neck, a black ink line curled down toward the collarbone. She saw the line and she stopped breathing. It was a tiger. Korean. The head sat at the jaw, the body curled along the throat, the tail vanished under the collar. She had seen the design once before, in a magazine her cousin had shown her, in an article her cousin had laughed at, because the magazine had used the words "feared in soul," and her cousin thought magazines did not know anything about being feared. The man's eyes opened. They were dark and they were awake. "Don't," he said. Mariah did not move. "Don't call the police." His voice was lower than she had expected, and steadier than the leg suggested. She took 1 step forward. Only 1. "You're bleeding," she said. "I know. Your leg. I know." The collar of the white shirt rose and fell with one slow breath. There was a fresh cut above his right brow, already drying. A bruise along the left cheekbone. He had been hit, recently, with something that knew where to hit. "Sir," she said. She did not know why she said sir. The word came out before she could choose it. "Sir, I need to—" "No police," he said. "No ambulance. You will lose the leg." "I will not lose the leg." His eyes moved to her hands, to the bread under her arm, to the strap of the tote at her shoulder. "I need 15 minutes. For what?" He did not answer. Mariah looked behind her, toward the mouth of the alley, toward Walden. There was nobody. She looked up. The windows of her building faced this side. She knew which apartments had curtains and which did not. None of the curtains on this side were moving. She looked back at the man. His right hand was resting on his thigh, palm down, fingers spread. On his wrist was a watch. Steel-cased, dark face, 3 small dials, the strap leather and old. The watch was the only thing on him that the dust had not touched. He had been protecting the watch with the angle of his arm. She saw that now. "What is in that watch?" she said. His mouth almost moved. "You first," he said. "You are not afraid of me. I do not have time to be afraid of you." He looked at her then, the way men look at women when they have decided to remember what the women look like. Not for the reason most men look. For another reason. "What is your name?" he said. She did not answer. "All right," he said. "Mine is Kang Ji-hoon." She felt the name settle into the air between them. "Sit down with me," he said. "I am not sitting down." "Then stand." A car passed on Walden. The sound came into the alley a second after the car had gone. He did not turn his head. He had not turned his head once since she had stepped in. "How long have you been here?" she said. "Since 4. 4 in the morning." "Yes. 3 hours." He had been sitting against that brick for 3 hours, and the leg was at that angle, and the cut above the brow had dried. "Why didn't somebody find you?" she said. "Because nobody comes in here," he said. "Except you." "Except me," she said. She looked at the tote. She looked at the bread under her arm. She looked at her watch. The cheap plastic one she had bought at the pharmacy 2 years ago, because the real one had been pawned for her aunt's first round of antibiotics. The plastic watch said 7:38. The pharmacy did not open until 8. She had 22 minutes. She set the tote down against the wall on her side of the alley. She put the bread on top of the tote. "You sit there," she said. "I will be back." "Where?" "Upstairs. 2 minutes." "You live here?" "Yes." He nodded. He did not ask anything else. She walked back out of the alley the way she had come in, at the same pace, the pace of a person who belonged, and she did not look behind her until she was at the front door of her building. She looked back then. Walden was empty. The corner of the alley was empty. He was not visible from the street. She climbed her 4 flights of stairs. She did not run. She did not run because Aunt Lucille had ears that woke at the sound of running. She unlocked her door, slid the chain, stepped into the kitchen. Her phone buzzed on the counter. "Denise Porter, second message of the morning. Saw your time card from Thursday. We need to discuss the 17-minute deviation. Monday is going to be a long conversation, Mariah." Mariah stared at the screen. 17 minutes on Thursday was the time she had spent with a pregnant woman who had walked in with chest pain and no insurance card, the time she had used to find the woman a chair and a cup of water, and the back number of the cardiologist who took charity referrals. 17 minutes was not a deviation. 17 minutes was the job. She put the phone face down on the counter. She filled a clean glass with water from the tap. She wrapped the glass in a dish towel so it would not show. She took 2 slices of the cheap bread out of the bag. She took the small jar of margarine from the shelf because butter was a thing she had not bought since March. She spread one of the slices. She closed the bread back. She took the old tin tray that her aunt used to drink tea on, the one with the painted hummingbird that had faded almost to nothing, and she put the slice and the glass on the tray. She covered the tray with the same dish towel. She stood at the door for 1 second, long enough to listen. Aunt Lucille's breath was still slow, still steady. She left. On the way down the stairs, she met Mrs. Doyle on the second landing. Mrs. Doyle was the woman who watched everything on the floor and reported half of it to the super. "Saturday already," Mrs. Doyle said. Her eyes went to the tray, to the dish towel, to the bulge of the glass under it. "Already," Mariah said. "Who's the breakfast for?" "My aunt. Your aunt eats in the kitchen now. She's having a bad morning." Mrs. Doyle's eyes stayed on the tray a second longer than they should have. Then she nodded the way people nod when they have decided to remember a thing for later. Mariah kept walking. In the alley, Kang Ji-hoon had not moved. His head had tilted further back. His eyes were closed again. For a second, Mariah thought he had passed out. She crossed the alley quickly. She knelt at his side. She set the tray on a flat brick at his hip. "Sir," she said. His eyes opened. "Drink first," she said. Slow. She lifted the glass out of the towel. She did not hand it to him. She tilted it to his lips. He took 3 small swallows. He took the 4th. He pulled his head back 2 inches and breathed once. He nodded. She set the glass on the tray. "Bread," she said. He took the bread with his left hand. The right hand stayed on the thigh, palm down, fingers spread. He ate the bread in 4 bites, the way a man eats when he is counting the chews, because chewing too fast wakes the stomach. She watched his throat work. She watched the line of the black ink tiger move under the loose collar. He finished the bread. He looked at her. "Thank you," he said. She wet the corner of the dish towel with what was left of the water. She reached toward the cut above his right brow. He did not flinch. He did not lean away. He held her eyes while she pressed the towel to the dried blood and lifted the crust of it off the skin. The cut was shorter than it had looked. 1/2 an inch. Clean edges. Whatever had hit him with something narrow and heavy. "Who did this?" she said. "Men who thought they had finished a job at 4 in the morning. Did they finish it? They are dead," he said. He said it the same way he had said thank you, without weight. She pulled the towel back. The cut was open now, and clean. She folded the towel so the blood did not show. She did not answer. "How long until you have to be somewhere?" he said. 20 minutes. "Walden has 3 black SUVs going up and down every 15. I know. You know. The bodega man told me at 7:30. He held her eyes. There was something in his face then that had not been there a minute before. Recognition. Or something that worked like it. "You see things," he said. "I work the front desk of a clinic," she said. "I see who walks in and I see who walks out, and I see who lies about which one they are." "What clinic?" "Community Health on the corner of Burnside and 8th. He was silent. "You know it," she said. "I have heard of it," he said. Something in the way he said heard sat wrong. She let it sit. "My name," she said, "is Mariah Woods." "Mariah," he said. He said it once. He did not repeat it. He said it the way a man says a thing he intends to remember. His right hand moved then, not much. 2 fingers lifted from the thigh and pressed the side of the watch, the small button at 4 o'clock on the steel case. The dial did not light up. The watch did not beep. Nothing visible changed. But something had happened. She had seen the press. "What did you just do?" she said. "I told someone I am still alive." "Who?" He did not answer. A second passed. Then the watch vibrated once, a single short pulse she felt, because her hand was near his wrist. He read the dial without lifting his arm. His face did not change. "Area locked," he said, almost to himself. "Hold." He looked up at her. "You have to go," he said. "My pharmacy is on the next block." "Then go. You are not staying here alone. I am not asking you to stay. I am not asking your permission." The corner of his mouth moved. Almost. Not quite. The wind shifted in the alley. A page of newspaper lifted off the ground near the trash bins and rolled 3 feet and settled. Somewhere on Walden, a car turned the corner slow. The engine cut out 1/2 a block down. The doors did not open. Mariah did not look toward the sound. She looked at Kang Ji-hoon and she said, "I will be 10 minutes. He looked back at her and he said, "Then in 10 minutes you come back and you find out who I am." She picked up the empty glass. She picked up the tin tray. She left the tote and the bread against the wall on her side of the alley, because the tote and the bread belonged to a Saturday morning, and the Saturday morning had stopped being hers the moment she stepped into the cut between 2 brick walls. She walked out of the alley at the pace of a person who belonged. The car on Walden was a black SUV with the windows tinted and the engine still warm. It was parked across the street from the mouth of the alley. Nobody was inside it that she could see. She did not look at the SUV. She crossed Walden at the corner. She walked the 1/2 block to the pharmacy. The pharmacist was a thin man with a sleeve tattoo who had given her the coupon the first time her aunt had come up short. He looked at the slip. He looked at her. He looked at the slip again. "Coupon expired Wednesday," he said. "It says the 31st. It says the 31st of last month. They reprinted them. The new ones are blue." She did not move. She had counted on the coupon. The coupon was the $1.40 for the bus, and it was $3 on the prescription, and it was the difference between this week working and this week breaking. "Hold on," the pharmacist said. He looked once over his shoulder toward the back. He pulled a blue slip out of a drawer that was not supposed to have blue slips in it on a Saturday before opening. He stamped it without ringing the bell. "Today only," he said. "Don't come back with the green one." "Thank you," she said. She took the small white paper bag. She walked back the way she had come. Halfway down the block, Tasha was on the sidewalk with her phone up, filming the SUV. Derek was beside her with his hands in the pockets of his cargo pants, and the cap turned around so the brim faced forward now. A third girl had joined them. Short, pastel pink hoodie, dark ponytail. Leah Driscoll. Mariah had seen her at the laundromat the week before, fighting with a dryer that had taken her $1. "Yo, look at this," Tasha was saying into the phone. "Bro, this is the third one this morning. Walden is popping off." Leah was laughing. "Probably feds." "Feds don't drive that nice," Derek said. Mariah walked past them on the curbside. Derek's eyes followed her. "Yo," he called. "Clinic girl." She did not stop. "Clinic girl? Your aunt's still sick?" She kept walking. She heard Tasha laugh, and she heard Leah's slide sandals scuff on the sidewalk, and she heard Derek mutter something she did not catch. She did not turn her head. She turned the corner. The SUV was still there. The mouth of the alley was still empty. She paused at the edge. She looked at the SUV one more time. The angle of the windshield caught the gray of the sky and threw it back. No movement inside. No exhaust. The engine had been cut, but the hood was still pale where the heat rose. Someone had parked it within the hour. She thought about Mrs. Doyle on the second landing, the way the woman's eyes had stayed on the tray. She thought about Tasha's phone, the lens of it pointing at the SUV and not at her, not yet. She thought about Denise Porter's 2 messages and the Monday meeting and the 17 minutes that were going to cost her a job. She thought about her aunt asleep 4 flights up with breath that came too slow. She stepped into the cut. Kang Ji-hoon's eyes were open. He had not moved. The watch was still on his wrist. He looked at her and he said one word. "Now." Mariah did not move at first. The word hung in the cracked air between them, low and even. The kind of word a man says when he has used up all the other ones. Now. Not please. Not help. Not wait. Just the single small command, dropped onto the wet concrete like a coin she was supposed to pick up. She tightened her grip on the olive green canvas tote. The strap dug into her shoulder. The bread inside pressed against her hip, still warm through the cloth, and she felt that warmth the way you feel a heartbeat that is not yours. The man against the brick wall did not blink. His dark almond eyes held her without flinching, even though the rest of him was a wreck. His tailored black jacket gaped open at the shoulder, where the seam had torn through wool and lining both. The white dress shirt underneath was no longer white. A brown crust of dried blood ran along the inside of his collar, climbing toward his jaw, and at the base of his neck, where the top buttons had been ripped clean off, she caught the edge of something black under the skin. Ink. A curve of ink that did not belong to any tattoo she had ever seen on this block. She stepped closer. One step, then another. The alley smelled of rain-soaked cardboard and the sharp copper of him. A pigeon shuffled along the gutter line and lifted away. Somewhere 4 streets over a city bus exhaled at a stop. The world kept moving. Only this thin slot between 2 buildings had decided to hold its breath. "You are bleeding," she said. Her voice came out softer than she meant. She cleared her throat and tried again. "You are bleeding. A lot. I know. Your leg. I know. I need to call somebody." No. That word landed harder than the first one. It was not a command this time. It was a door slamming shut, and her hand froze halfway to the phone in her back pocket. She looked at him properly. Really looked. The bruise along his left cheekbone was the color of an old plum, already setting in. The cut over his right brow had stopped bleeding and started to crust. His hair, which must have been combed back at some point that morning, was tousled and streaked with concrete dust, a fine pale film on the dark strands. His hands lay open on his thighs, palms up, the way a man holds his hands when he wants the person in front of him to know he is not reaching for anything. His knuckles were split. The skin on the right one had peeled back, and underneath the muscle moved when he flexed his fingers. This was not a man who had fallen. This was a man who had been put down, and then had refused to stay down long enough for them to finish. "You need a hospital," she said. "No hospital. You need police." He almost smiled at that, almost. The corner of his mouth tugged sideways, just enough to crack the seal of dried blood at the edge of his lip, and then it stopped, because smiling cost him something, and he had nothing left to spend. Especially not police, he said. Mariah looked at the mouth of the alley behind her. The strip of sidewalk she could see was empty. Only the corner of the bakery window, the green awning of the laundromat across the street, a child's pink scooter abandoned against a parking sign. The neighborhood was waking up the way it always woke up on a Saturday, slow and sleepy and self-absorbed. No one had followed her in. No one was watching. Yet, "Who hit you?" she asked. "You do not need to know. I do if I am standing here." He considered her. That was the only word for it. His gaze moved across her face the way a man inspects a thing he intends to set down very carefully, and she felt every part of herself being measured. The straight blonde ponytail, the light cream blouse, the flat brown sandals, the cheap canvas tote, the way her chin had lifted on its own without asking her permission. "What is your name?" he said. "Mariah. Mariah." He repeated it the way you repeat a number you want to memorize. "Mariah. The people who hit me will be looking down this alley in less than 10 minutes, maybe less than 5. If you call anyone, the call will reach them before it reaches help. Do you understand what I am saying to you?" She did not. Not really. Not yet. But she understood the shape of it, the way she understood the shape of Denise Porter's voice on the phone before the sentence finished. Some words come preloaded with consequence. "Then what do you want?" she asked. "To stand up." She blinked. "That is it? That is the only thing I cannot do alone right now." His jaw tightened. His right leg lay at an angle that was not quite straight, the knee turned inward, and when he shifted his weight even a fraction, his whole face went tight around the eyes. "If I can stand, I can move. If I can move, I can think. If I can think, I do not need you for anything else." There was something about the way he said it that did not insult her. He was not bargaining. He was promising. He was telling her exactly what the transaction would be so that she could decide before she touched him. Mariah set the tote down against the wall. The bread shifted inside it, the brown paper crackling. She rolled her shoulders once. The honey-toned skin at the inside of her wrist was already prickling with cold from standing too long in the shadow of the building. "My aunt has high blood pressure," she said. Why she said it, she did not know. Maybe because if she was going to do something stupid, she wanted at least one true thing in the air first. "She is upstairs, apartment 4C, window over the alley. If she looks out and sees me touching a bleeding stranger, she is calling somebody whether you like it or not. Then we should be quick." She almost laughed. It came up her throat as a small choked sound and she swallowed it. "Okay," she said. She crouched. The denim pulled tight across her thighs. Up close he smelled stronger, rain and iron and something else underneath. A clean, expensive smell, the way cologne smells after it has been sweated through, ghost of a life that did not match this alley. She reached for his right arm, the one farther from the broken leg, and slid her hand under his elbow. "On 3, she said. "On 1. 3 is too long to wait." "1 then." She braced. He pushed off the wall with the heel of his left palm. The white dress shirt opened wider at the collar as he moved, and the curve of black ink she had glimpsed earlier resolved itself, just for an instant, into something with a shape. A head, a jaw, an eye. Some kind of animal wrapped around the left side of his neck, ink so deep it looked wet. The body of the thing disappearing down toward his collarbone, where the fabric stopped her seeing more. A tiger. Her brain produced the word, and then refused to let it mean anything yet. He came up faster than she expected for a man that broken. His weight transferred onto her shoulder for one heavy second, and she felt the full mass of him, the density of muscle under the ruined wool. And then he had his good leg locked and his bad leg lifted, just clear of the ground, and they were standing. He was tall, taller than he had looked folded against the brick. Her head reached the line of his jaw. He breathed out, slow, through his teeth. Sweat had broken across his brow under the dust. The dried cut over his right eye had cracked again. A single bright bead of new blood gathered there, and then did not move, surface tension holding it in place. "Thank you," he said. "Do not thank me yet. We have not done anything. We have done the hardest part." He glanced up the alley, then down. The wristwatch on his left hand caught a thread of morning light. It was a heavy steel piece, brushed metal case, dark face, no logo she recognized. Expensive in a way that was meant not to be recognized. He pressed 2 fingers against the crown of it for a count of 3. Deliberate, not checking the time. 3 slow presses. The watch did nothing she could see. No light, no chime. He let his arm drop. "What did you just do?" she asked. "Sent a message." "To who?" "People who already know I am alive." The flat way he said it shifted something inside her chest. People, plural, who already knew, which meant other people, also plural, did not know, and that was the part he was trying to keep that way. "Mister," she said, "I am going to ask you one more time. Do you need an ambulance?" "No." "Do you need a police officer?" "No." "Do you need a priest?" The corner of his mouth twitched. Not a smile. The memory of one. "Not today." "Then what do you need from me?" He looked at her. The morning light had risen far enough to clear the rim of the opposite building, and a strip of it now angled down into the alley, falling across the bruised side of his face. In that light, his eyes were not the flat black they had seemed in the shadow. They were dark brown shot through with something colder, the brown of a river under ice. "I need to be off this street for 1 hour," he said. "Not your apartment, not anywhere you live. Somewhere with a door I can put my back to, and a window I can see the alley from. After 1 hour, I will be gone, and you will never have to think about me again." 1 hour. 1 hour. She thought about Aunt Cora upstairs, about the prescription bottle on the kitchen counter, 4 pills left, the refill she had not been able to pay for, about Denise Porter's voice yesterday afternoon, about the way her own hands had been shaking when she counted the coins into stacks at 4 in the morning, about the fact that she had walked out of her building 20 minutes ago to buy bread, and had instead walked into a story whose ending she could not see from where she was standing. She thought about the way he had said please without saying please. "There is a service door," she said slowly, "behind the laundromat across the street. The owner is a friend of my aunt. He does not open the front until 11 on Saturdays, but the back room is unlocked because his nephew goes in at 9 to start the dryers. There is a stool. There is a window onto this alley. The dryers are loud. Take me there. You are going to have to walk across an open street. I know. In the daylight. I know. With a torn jacket and blood on your collar." He looked down at himself for the first time since she had crouched down. He took in the ruined wool, the open shirt, the dust on his cuffs, the way the right knee of his trousers was no longer a trouser leg, but a flap of expensive fabric over a darker stain. He looked back at her. "Do you have anything in that bag?" he said. "That could be a coat." She did. She had her aunt's old oversized cardigan, the dust gray one she had thrown in this morning, because the wind off the river had felt sharp and she had not known how long she would be out. She pulled it out. It was wide in the shoulders, long in the body, the kind of sweater an older woman wears over a nightdress to take the trash out. She held it open. He shrugged into it, slow, careful of the shoulder seam under the jacket. The cardigan swallowed the torn wool and most of the bloodied collar. It made him look 10 years older and 20 pounds softer. It made him look like a man recovering from a flu instead of a man being hunted. "Hood," he said. There was no hood. There was a high collar she could turn up. She did. It covered the curve of black ink at his neck. "Lean on me," she said, slow. "We are walking out like we know each other. We are walking out like I am bringing my uncle home from the clinic. Do not look at the street. Look at the laundromat door. Yes." She bent and picked up the canvas tote. The bread was still warm. Her hands were not. She slid her arm around his back, under the cardigan, and felt the heat coming off him through the shirt. Fever heat, adrenaline heat, the heat of a body that was burning fuel it did not have. They moved. The alley was 8 steps long. They took it in 12. At the mouth of it she stopped them, one hand flat against his chest, and she leaned out around the corner of the brick, as if she were checking traffic. The strip of sidewalk in front of her building was still empty. The bakery across the way had its door propped open with a brick. A delivery van idled at the curb 3 doors down, hazard lights blinking, the driver inside on his phone, head bent, not looking up. The pink scooter had not moved. A pigeon was eating something off the curb. "Now," she said, and this time the word was hers. They crossed. 5 lanes of cracked asphalt, 2 parked cars, a grate over the storm drain that he had to step around because he could not lift his bad leg high enough to step over it. Halfway across, she felt his weight buckle for a fraction of a second, and her arm tightened around his ribs without her telling it to. She felt the line of a bandage under his shirt, or what might have been a bandage, a thick, rough ridge of fabric that did not belong to a dress shirt. Someone had wrapped him before she found him. Whoever had done that was not in the alley with him. They reached the laundromat door. Frosted glass. A handwritten sign-in marker, open 11 Saturday. She pulled. It did not give. She walked them 3 steps further, around the side, down a half flight of concrete to the back. The metal service door was painted the same dull red it had been painted for 20 years. The padlock hung open on the hasp. She pushed it inward. The smell of warm fabric softener rolled out. Industrial dryers hummed in the back, 4 of them. Big steel drums turning, tumbling somebody else's sheets. The nephew was nowhere in sight. A radio played soft Spanish pop from a shelf above the folding table. A single yellow stool sat by the small window that looked out onto the alley they had just come from. She walked him to the stool. He sat down on it the way a man sits when his body has been waiting an hour to be allowed to. His head dropped forward for 1 full second before he lifted it again. 60 minutes, he said. 60 minutes, she said. She set the tote on the folding table. She took out the loaf of bread. She tore the end off it, the small heel piece, soft inside, crust still warm, and she set it on a clean square of folded brown paper, and she put it on the stool beside his hand. He looked at the bread. He looked at her. Why? He said. She did not have a good answer. She had a wallet with $11.42 in it. She had an aunt with 4 pills left. She had a manager who was going to call her phone before noon to ask why she had not picked up yesterday. She had no plan. She had no help. She had a piece of bread and a stranger bleeding under her aunt's cardigan, and she did not know how to leave either one of them on a stool in a back room by herself. Because you asked me to stand you up, she said, and nobody stands up hungry. He picked up the bread. He held it in his hand for a long moment, the way a man holds a thing he has not been given in a long time. Then he ate, slow, careful of the cut at his lip. The dryers hummed. The radio played. Outside the small window, the alley sat empty in a thin strip of morning light. She moved to the window. She put her shoulder against the wall beside it so she could see out without being seen. From here she had the whole length of the alley, the corner of her building, the strip of sidewalk where she had crossed. She watched it the way she had been told once, as a girl, to watch a pot that was about to boil, without blinking, without believing it would not. 3 minutes passed. 4. She used those minutes the way her aunt had taught her to use bad minutes. She catalogued. She counted exits. The back door they had come through. A narrow hallway leading to the front of the laundromat, blocked halfway by a stack of detergent cartons. A small bathroom door, ajar, mop bucket inside. A roof hatch she could see at the end of the hallway, padlocked from below, the key on a nail. She filed it. She did not know why she was filing it. She had never filed exits in her life. She had walked through this laundromat for 12 years to drop off her aunt's blanket, and had never once thought of it as a room with 5 different ways out, and 4 of them not good. She glanced back at the stool. He had taken something from the inside pocket of his ruined jacket, a folded square of white cloth, clean, almost too clean for the rest of him. He was using it to wipe the dust off the face of the watch. Methodical, slow, both hands engaged. He noticed her looking and did not stop. "What is that?" she asked. "A handkerchief, in a torn jacket. Some habits travel with you," he said, "no matter what kind of morning it is." She almost laughed again. She caught it in her throat. Laughing in this room felt like dropping a glass on a tile floor. The sound would not stop until something broke. She turned back to the window. At minute 6, a black sedan rolled slowly down her street. It was not a car from her block. The cars on her block were old, dented, paint peeling at the wheel wells, missing hubcaps, plates expired. This car was clean. The black was wet-looking, even though it had not rained since dawn. The windows were tinted past the legal line. It did not park. It did not stop. It drove at the speed of a hearse, and at the mouth of the alley it slowed almost to nothing, and she saw the driver's head turn, just a fraction, just enough to sweep the empty slot of bricks and dumpsters, before the car eased forward again and disappeared around the next corner. Mariah did not breathe until it was gone. She turned from the window. The man on the stool had not moved. He had finished the bread. His hand rested on his thigh, palm down now, knuckles split, and his eyes were fixed on her face as if he had been reading her instead of the alley. "They came," he said. It was not a question. They came. How many? 1 car, 1 driver, 1 pass. They will come again. I know. He nodded. Once. The small nod of a man confirming a thing he had already calculated. Then he lifted the wrist with the heavy steel watch. He pressed his fingers against the crown again. 3 slow presses. He held it. He waited. She did not understand what she was watching. She only knew that the watch was not a watch, the way bread was not just bread. A small vibration ran through the steel, so slight she almost missed it. The face of the watch stayed dark. He let the wrist drop. He closed his eyes for one breath. He opened them. His other hand moved to the inside of the jacket again. This time it came out with a thin black case the size of a credit card. He thumbed it open with one motion. Inside, against black foam, sat a small white pill and a folded strip of gauze. He took the pill dry. He swallowed it without water. He closed the case. He put it back. The whole thing took 5 seconds. "What was that?" she asked. "Something for the leg. You should be in a hospital." "I should be in a lot of places. This is the one I am in." She watched the line of his jaw work as the pill went down. The bruise on his cheekbone had darkened in the last few minutes, the way bruises do when a body finally stops running and starts feeling. The cut over his brow had closed again into a thin red seam. He did not touch it. He did not seem to remember it was there. "How long until that works?" she said. 20 minutes for the edge, 40 for the rest. "And after 40 minutes? "After 40 minutes, he said. "I can walk without you." She nodded. She told herself that was good. She told herself that was the entire point of the hour. After 40 minutes he could walk, and after 60 minutes he would walk. Out of this back room and out of her life. And she could go upstairs and tell her aunt she had stood in line at the bakery, and they had been out of the cheap loaves. She told herself all of that, and at the same time she found that her hand had come to rest on the wooden edge of the folding table, gripping it, as if the table were the one thing in this room that was not about to leave. "Area locked," he said quietly, as if translating for her. "Hold. Area locked," she repeated. "What does that mean?" "It means I have 1 hour, maybe a little more. After that, the people who already know I am alive will be at this door. At this door. Behind it. In front of it. On the roof." "Yes." She stared at him. The dryers hummed. The radio sang in Spanish about a woman who would not come back. Through the small window, the alley sat in its strip of pale gold morning light, empty again, as if no black sedan had ever passed at all. "Mister," she said, "who are you?" He looked at her for a long moment before he answered, and when he answered, his voice was the same low, even voice he had used to say the word now, only quieter, the way a man speaks when he is offering you the last true thing he has left to offer before the next hour begins. "Someone they should not have left alive," he said. Outside, far down the block, an engine turned over a second time. She heard it through the metal door. She heard it through the dryers. She heard it through her own pulse. The hour had started. The dryers in the laundromat across the alley kept tumbling. Mariah heard them, and she heard her own pulse, and somewhere between those two rhythms a third sound arrived. Her phone. Not Denise this time. A neighbor she barely knew. A woman from the second floor who borrowed sugar once and never returned it. "Girl, you on the internet," the voice said. Mariah pressed the phone tighter to her ear. "What?" "You and that beggar. It's everywhere. My niece sent it to me from Atlanta." Mariah lowered the phone slowly. The screen showed a notification from another number, then another, then 3 at once. The video had jumped buildings. It had jumped boroughs. It had jumped a state line in less than 20 minutes. She turned her head toward the mouth of the alley. People were standing there now. Not 3, not 5, a dozen, maybe more. Some held phones up like candles at a vigil. Others just watched. A boy on a bicycle braked hard and stared, mouth open, then pulled out his own phone. Ji-hoon hadn't moved. His back was still against the brick, the tray still on his lap, the half-eaten bread still in his hand. But his eyes had changed. They tracked the crowd one face at a time. Slow, methodical. The way a man counts coins he intends to pay back. "They came to look," he said. "I see them. Don't move closer to the street. I wasn't planning to." A woman in a yellow tracksuit pushed to the front and held up her phone horizontally, framing them like a movie poster. "Smile, baby," she called to Mariah. "You famous now." Mariah did not smile. She set herself between the woman and Ji-hoon. The tote bag on her shoulder swung slightly. The empty thermos inside clinked once against the keys. "Move," Mariah said. "It's a free street. Then walk on it. Don't stand on it." The woman laughed, but she stepped back. A man behind her muttered something Mariah didn't catch. 2 teenagers giggled. Someone in the back yelled, "Feed him a steak, mama, he's earned it." Laughter rolled. Ji-hoon's hand on the tray went very still. Mariah watched his fingers, not his face. The fingers were the truth. They told her he had registered every single voice, filed it, stamped it. Her phone vibrated again. Denise? She let it ring 4 times before she answered, because 4 was the number of breaths it took to remember she was still a person and not a hashtag. Mariah. Yes. Are you on Hudson Street? I'm at home. Don't lie to me. The video is dated. The timestamp is on the screen. Your building number is in the frame. There is a sign behind you that says Velasquez Auto Repair. I can read it from my desk. Mariah said nothing. You will report to the clinic in 90 minutes. Conference room B. There will be a representative from HR. There will be a representative from the regional office. Bring your badge. Bring your locker key. Do you understand? I understand. And Mariah. Yes. I want you to know that I tried to help you for 2 years. I want you to know that this is a choice you made. The line went dead. Mariah lowered the phone. She did not put it in her pocket. She kept it in her hand. The crowd at the mouth of the alley had grown. A delivery driver had parked his scooter at the curb and was filming with his helmet still on. A teenage girl was crying, laughing into her own camera, narrating in a voice meant to go viral. Ji-hoon spoke without turning his head. Sit down. I'm fine. You're not. Your knee is locked. Sit down on the crate. She looked at the milk crate she had carried out for him earlier. He was sitting on the duffel now. The crate was empty. She lowered herself onto it. Her knee was locked. She hadn't noticed. They're filming, she said. Let them. They're going to put more of it online. Let them. Denise is going to fire me in an hour and a half. He turned his head then. Just an inch. Just enough that she caught the side of his face, the bruise under the eye, the dust in his eyebrow. Will she? Yes. That was all he said. It was not dismissive. It was not skeptical. It was the sound of a man making a note in a ledger only he could read. A new voice cut through the crowd. Higher, louder. Yo, 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 look who came back. Derek. He had circled the block. He was returning with reinforcements. 2 more men in branded polos, one carrying a coffee in each hand. Tasha trailed behind, phone already up. Leah was live streaming from a few feet away, her pastel pink hoodie bright against the brick. Tell me y'all are still here, Derek said. His grin had grown. The first round of mockery had landed online, and the metrics were good, and his face had the specific glow of a man whose joke had performed. Bro, the whole comment section is going crazy. They want part 2. Mariah stood up. She didn't decide to. Her body decided. Walk away, Derek. You know my name now? Damn. He laughed. Listen, sweetheart. We just here to document. Documentary. That's all. You ever seen a documentary, sis? It's like a movie, but real. One of his coworkers laughed too loud. The other one didn't laugh at all. The one who didn't laugh looked at Ji-hoon for 2 seconds longer than the others, then looked at the watch on Ji-hoon's wrist, then looked away, then looked back. Mariah caught it. So did Ji-hoon. The man who had looked twice tugged Derek's sleeve. Yo, D, come here a second. Nah, I'm working. Come here. What, bro? The man pulled Derek a few feet back and said something low. Derek's grin flickered. Not gone, just flickered. He glanced at the watch on Ji-hoon's wrist, then at the bloodstain on the collar, then at the dust on the cuffs of a suit that, beneath the dirt, was not the suit of a beggar. But Derek had an audience now. Derek had a live stream. Derek had a clip with 80,000 views in 18 minutes. Derek could not afford to be wrong on camera. So he chose the worst choice, the one men like Derek always choose when the safer option requires humility. He turned back to Mariah. Sweetheart. Last chance. Move out the frame. Let me get one more clean shot of your boyfriend, and I leave you alone. He's not my boyfriend. Then why you guarding him like he the last piece of chicken? The crowd at the alley mouth laughed. Tasha cackled. Leah whooped. The phones tilted closer. Mariah took 1 step forward. Just one. Her flat brown sandals were silent on the asphalt. The olive green tote on her shoulder didn't sway. Her hands were at her sides, palms loose. Derek Halloran, she said. The grin shrank by a centimeter. That's your name, right? Derek Halloran. I read it on your polo. Halloran Maintenance. Subcontractor. Your truck has a logo on the door. I memorized the plate this morning when you laughed at a man who couldn't stand up. I memorized your face. I memorized the face of every person who came here in the last 40 minutes. Her voice was not loud. That was the thing. It was a front desk voice. It was the voice she used when a man with a gun complaint walked into the clinic, and she had 30 seconds to decide whether to call security or call a doctor. "You can film," she said. "Film all you want. But know that I see you. I see you, Derek. And I see you, Tasha. And I see you, Leah. And when this day is over, however it ends, you will know that I saw you." The alley went quiet. Not silent. Quiet. The dryers across the way kept tumbling. A pigeon clattered up off a fire escape. A car horn 3 blocks away. Derek made a sound that wanted to be a laugh and came out a cough. "Oh, she's serious," he said. "She's serious, y'all." But the cough was the tell. The cough was Derek's body admitting something his mouth wouldn't. He took half a step back. He recovered. He raised the phone again, but the half step had happened, and 3 different cameras in the crowd had caught it. And somewhere on the internet, a second clip was already cutting itself together. Ji-hoon, behind her, exhaled once through his nose. It was almost a laugh. It was the closest thing to a laugh Mariah had ever heard from him in the 4 hours she had known he existed. He spoke quietly. Just to her. "Sit down, Mariah. I'm fine standing. Sit down. You've said what you needed to say. Don't say more. The more you say, the less it weighs." She sat, slowly. On the milk crate, she kept her body angled so that her shoulder was still between Ji-hoon and Derek's lens. Her phone vibrated for the 11th time. She didn't look. It vibrated again, and again. She slid its screen down on her thigh. "Your phone is loud," Ji-hoon said. "It's the world. The world will wait." He shifted on the duffel bag. The shift cost him. She saw the muscle in his jaw lock as the weight came off his right leg. She saw the hand that had been resting on his thigh curl into a fist against the pain and then uncurl, deliberately, because he had decided not to let her see the curl. She saw it anyway. "Your leg," she said. "I know. It's worse. I know. You should let me. No. That was all. No. Not unkind. Just final." She heard a siren 2 blocks over. She heard it pass without slowing. She heard it disappear. The siren was not for them. The siren was never going to be for them. She understood that now, more clearly than she had understood any single thing in 2 years of standing behind a front desk. The crowd was thinning at the edges. The novelty was wearing thin. Live mockery has a half-life. The clips were already out. The spectacle had given what it would give. People drifted back toward the corner store, toward their apartments, toward the bus stop. Derek lingered. Tasha lingered. Leah lingered. But the audience around them was scattering. A woman Mariah recognized from the 3rd floor of her building stopped at the edge of the alley. She did not lift a phone. She just stood, holding 2 bags of groceries, watching. After a long moment, she set 1 bag down, walked 3 steps in, and held out a bottle of water from her bag. "For him," she said. Mariah took the bottle. "Thank you. My son was on the floor like that in 2019. Police walked past him twice. The 3rd time was a stranger." The woman picked up her bag and walked away without waiting for a response. Mariah uncapped the bottle and held it out. Ji-hoon took it with his left hand. He drank slowly. 3 swallows. He handed it back. "Tell that woman thank you," he said. "I did. Tell her again. In writing. When you can." "Why in writing?" "Because writing remembers." She filed the sentence away. Writing remembers. She did not know yet what he meant by it. She would know within 24 hours. Her phone screen, face down on her thigh, lit up bright enough that she felt it through the denim. She turned it over. A text from a number not saved in her contacts. "Anonymous. They're saying his hands are tied. They're wrong. Stay where you are." She read it twice. She read it 3 times. Her thumb hovered over the keyboard. "Who is this?" she typed. She didn't send it. She deleted it. She put the phone back face down. "Something," Ji-hoon said. "Not a question. Someone texted me. Show me." She flipped the phone, held it close to him so the screen caught his eye and nobody else's. He read it. His face did not change. "Good," he said. "Good means the message moved." "What message?" "The one I haven't sent yet." She didn't ask. She had learned, in 4 hours, when not to ask. Derek, 20 feet away, was on a call. His voice was lower now. He was no longer laughing. He was glancing at Ji-hoon every few seconds, and then away. The man who had tugged his sleeve earlier had walked off entirely. Tasha was scrolling her phone with an expression that had stopped being entertained. Leah's live stream had ended. Mariah watched the dynamic shift the way she had watched 10,000 times the waiting room of the clinic shift when a doctor stepped out and said someone's name. The change was invisible to anyone who hadn't lived inside it, but she had lived inside it. She felt, for the first time since she'd walked out of her apartment with $2.12, that she was no longer the only one paying attention. Her phone rang. Denise. She let it go to voicemail. Her phone rang again. Denise. She let it go to voicemail. Her phone rang a third time. Not Denise. Aunt Cora. She answered immediately. Aunt. Baby. Baby, you on the news. On the news? Local. They saying there was an incident on Hudson Street. They showing your back. They showing your hair. They saying a clinic employee is involved in a disturbance. Mariah closed her eyes. Just for a second. I'm okay, Aunt. Where's your friend? What friend? The man in the video, baby. The man you've been feeding. He okay? He's okay. Bring him home. What? Bring him home. To the apartment. I'll be at the bus stop in 20 minutes. I got the prescription. You don't leave that man on the street for the news to chew on. You hear me? Mariah opened her eyes. Across the alley, the laundromat dryer stopped on a long buzz. The buzz felt like punctuation, like the end of a sentence she had been writing without knowing. I hear you, Aunt. 20 minutes. The line clicked. She lowered the phone. She looked at Ji-hoon. She did not soften her face. She did not perform pity. She made the face her aunt had made at her, 20 years before, when a stray dog had limped into the kitchen and a 6-year-old Mariah had asked if it could stay. My aunt says bring you home. His head turned fully toward her for the first time since the crowd had arrived. The dark almond eyes did not blink. You can't. She said bring you home. You can't, Mariah.
Tell me why.
Because the moment you put me under your roof, the people hunting me know where you sleep. She let the words land. She did not flinch. She thought about Aunt Cora's blood pressure. She thought about the second-floor neighbor who had filmed her. She thought about Denise reading off her building number from a frozen frame. She thought about the disciplinary meeting in less than an hour. She thought about all of it. Then she stood up from the milk crate. Her knee unlocked with a small dry pop. She picked up the tray, the thermos, the bottle of water from the third-floor woman. She tucked them all into the olive green tote. Then we're not going home, she said. We're going where they're not looking. Tell me where. Ji-hoon looked at her for a long beat. Behind her, Derek was no longer filming. Behind her, Tasha was no longer laughing. Behind her, the alley had emptied to just the three of them and one slow cat sitting on a recycling bin. Ji-hoon said one word. Mariah. Just her name. Nothing more. The way a person says a name when they are about to ask something they have no right to ask. She waited. But before he could speak, the steel-cased watch on his wrist hummed once. A single short pulse. Not the same pattern as the morning. A different code. He looked down at it. The dust on the crystal had cleared in a tiny circle where his thumb had been resting. He read whatever the watch was telling him. He read it a second time. His jaw tightened. Sit back down, Mariah. I'm tired of sitting. Sit down. She sat. Not because he told her to, because the way he said it stripped the request of all charm. What does it say? It says you have 9 minutes. 9 minutes for what? To not be standing next to me when something arrives at the mouth of this alley. She felt the cold start at the back of her neck and go down. Police? No. Then who? He did not answer. He looked at the watch again. He looked at her. He looked at the mouth of the alley where a black sedan was just at that moment slowing at the curb without yet stopping. Mariah, he said very gently, I need you to do exactly what I tell you for the next 9 minutes. After that, you can go to your meeting. After that, you can go home to your aunt. After that, you can decide whether you ever saw me. Do you understand? She heard the dryers across the alley. She heard her own pulse. She heard a sedan idle. She heard, somewhere very far away and yet very close, the sound of an hour she had not known was running finally hit 0. I understand. Good. He pressed his thumb to the side of the watch crystal. 2 short taps, a pause, 1 long. The watch hummed back. First thing, take the tote off your shoulder. Set it on the milk crate. Sit on the crate next to it. Do not stand up again until I tell you. She obeyed. The tote made a small thump as it landed. The thermos clinked. Second thing, when the sedan stops, do not look at it. Look at me. Keep looking at me until I tell you otherwise. At you. At my face. Not my chest. Not my watch. My face. Why? Because the camera in the sedan can read everything except what your eyes are doing. She nodded once. The cold at the back of her neck had spread to her shoulder blades. The sedan was still idling. The driver had not stepped out. The tinted rear window had not lowered. But it was there, 23 feet away, the engine ticking the way a clock ticks when no one is in the room. Third thing, he said. When I tell you to walk, you walk. You walk west, not east. You walk slow. You do not look back. You do not run. Running is what the camera wants. And you? I stay. You can't stand. I'm not going to stand. A second sedan slid up behind the first. Same model, same tint, same patient idle. Mariah's eyes flicked toward it, and Ji-hoon said her name once, sharp, and her eyes came back to his face. My face, Mariah. Sorry. Don't apologize, just look. She looked. She catalogued things she had not let herself catalog all morning. The light bruise under the eye was darker now. The cut on the right brow had reopened a thread of dried blood. There was a faint white line under his jaw she hadn't noticed before. An old scar, surgical, precise. His pupils were steady. Whatever was about to happen, his pupils already knew the shape of it. Talk to me, she said. About what? Anything. The longer you talk, the longer I don't think about what's behind you. A muscle moved at the corner of his mouth. Almost a smile. Not quite. When I was 19, he said, my mother made me memorize the names of every man my father had buried. 41 of them. Eldest to youngest. She said it was a debt I would inherit whether I wanted it or not. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that the man you fed bread to will add no name today that does not belong on the list. Her throat tightened. She did not let it show. Okay, she said. A door opened on the first sedan, not the driver's, the rear passenger. Mariah heard the click of a polished shoe on asphalt. She did not turn. Her eyes stayed on Ji-hoon's. His pupils tracked something past her left shoulder, but his face did not move. Is it him? She said. It's one of mine. One of yours? Han Suk-jin. Tall. Scar across the left eyebrow. He will not approach. He will wait at the curb. He is the signal that the others know where I am. The others are not all mine. How do you tell which is which? You don't. I do. The polished shoe took 2 steps and stopped. A voice, low and Korean accented, said one word. Just one. Ji-hoon answered with one word back. The shoe did not advance further. The shoe waited. Walk now, Mariah. I'm not leaving you in this alley. You are not leaving me. You are walking west for 4 minutes. After 4 minutes, you turn into the laundromat. You sit on the bench by the window. You wait. Someone will come for the tote. You will hand them the tote. You will go to your meeting. My meeting is in 48 minutes. You will arrive in 31. Why the tote? Because the thermos at the bottom has a recording in it. She stared at him. A what? The lid. The seal of the lid. It is not a seal. It has been listening since I asked you to bring me breakfast. Every voice that came into this alley is on it, including the woman with the water, including your aunt's phone call, which is why I will personally apologize to her later, including Derek Halloran saying his last name out loud, which he should not have done. You bugged my thermos. I asked you to bring me food. I asked you to set the tray down. I asked you to leave the thermos with me. I did not bug your thermos. I prepared it before I let it back into your bag. When? When you turned to face the street and tell 3 children to walk on it instead of stand on it. She did not know whether to be furious or relieved. She landed, somewhere between the two, on a feeling she had no name for yet. It was not betrayal. Betrayal would have meant she had trusted him with something he had not asked for. This was different. This was the first time in her adult life that someone had handed her a weapon without asking if she wanted one. Walk now, he said. West. 4 minutes. Laundromat. Bench by the window. Hand off the tote. Go to your meeting. Do not run. She stood. Slowly. Her knee did not lock this time. She lifted the tote and put it across her shoulder. The thermos at the bottom did not look any different than it had at 6 in the morning. The olive green canvas absorbed the daylight the way it always did. Ji-hoon. It was the first time she had said his name out loud. She did not know it. She had read no name on a card. He had told her none. But the name arrived in her mouth fully formed, the way names do when the body has been waiting for permission. His face did not change, but something behind his eyes moved 1 inch. Walk, Mariah. She walked. She walked west, the way he had told her to. She did not look at the sedans. She did not look at Han Suk-jin, who was exactly as Ji-hoon had described. Tall, broad, the scar across the left eyebrow visible at the edge of her sight. She walked at the pace of a woman going to buy milk. 4 minutes. The laundromat, the bench, the window. Behind her, she heard the second sedan's door open. She heard Ji-hoon say 2 short words in Korean. She heard the door close again, not slammed, just closed. The careful closing of a man who has been told to wait. She turned into the laundromat. The bell over the door rang. The bench by the window was empty. She sat. She set the tote across her lap. She kept both hands on it. The dryers tumbled. The fluorescent ceiling buzzed. A woman folding a child's t-shirt at the back counter did not look up. 3 minutes passed. She counted them by the digital clock above the change machine. At the 4-minute mark, a man in a charcoal jacket walked in. He did not look at the woman folding clothes. He did not look at the dryers. He walked to the bench, sat 1 seat away from Mariah, and held out his hand, palm up, the way a polite person asks for a pen. She lifted the tote off her lap. She handed it to him. Their eyes did not meet. "Your meeting is in 29 minutes, he said in soft accented English. "Conference room B. Take the bus on 12th. Do not look for a car. Do not accept a ride. Do not check your phone until you are inside the building." And him? He will be where he needs to be. That's not an answer. It is the only answer I am allowed to give you. The man stood, the tote in his hand, looking like any tote any man might carry out of any laundromat. And he walked out the way he had come in. The bell rang. The woman at the back counter still did not look up. Mariah sat 1 more long minute. The dryers tumbled. Her hands, empty, rested on her thighs. Whatever was happening in that alley was no longer something she could stop or speed up. She stood. She walked out. She turned east, away from the alley. She caught the bus on 12th. She did not check her phone. She arrived at the clinic in 29 minutes. She walked past 3 coworkers who did not meet her eye. She walked past her own nameplate at the front desk. She walked to conference room B and put her hand on the door handle. She felt the weight of a thermos no longer in her bag, and the weight of a name now in her mouth, and the weight of an hour that had not ended the way Denise believed it had ended. She opened the door. The first thing Derek saw was the polish on the shoes. 3 black SUVs had stopped at the mouth of the alley, and the men who climbed out of them wore shoes that did not belong on a block where the curb was cracked. The shoes were polished so deep the morning sky bent inside them. Derek noticed shoes for a living. He installed flooring. He knew what money cost to heal. He laughed once, the small laugh of a man trying to talk himself out of a thought. "Yo," he said. "Yo, Tasha." Tasha did not turn. She was filming the alley wall now, filming the chipped paint, filming nothing, because she had run out of nerve to film the man on the crate. Leah was looking past Mariah, past the building, looking at the new black metal idling at the corner. "Tasha." "What?" "Look." She looked. The phone in her hand tilted on its own. The neon pink nail at the volume button stopped tapping. 8 men, Mariah counted without meaning to. 8 men in matching dark suits, fanning out across the sidewalk in a pattern that was not random, that had been practiced. 2 stayed at the SUVs. 2 took the rooftops with their eyes. 2 took the building doors at either end of the alley. The last 2 walked. The man in front was the largest. Square jaw, close-cropped hair gone gray at the temples. A faint scar split his left eyebrow into 2 unequal halves. Black gloves, black tie. He did not look at Mariah. He did not look at Derek. He did not look at the broken thermos on the asphalt or at the phone in Tasha's hand. He looked at one thing. He looked at the crate. He stopped 6 feet from it and lowered his head. It was a small movement. A quarter bow. The kind of bow a tall man performs when he wants the gesture to be precise and not theatrical. His chin met his chest. His shoulders did not move. "Sajangnim Kang," he said. The Korean was low and clean. The 2 syllables of the name carried weight the alley had not heard before. Mariah did not understand the word. She understood the posture. Behind the first man, a smaller man stepped forward. Round wire-rimmed glasses. Pale skin. A briefcase in his hand that looked old because it was used, not because it was cheap. He bowed half a beat after the first. "Sajangnam," he said. Kang Ji-hoon raised his head. He did not stand. He sat on the crate the way he had sat for the last hour, one knee bent wrong, the dust still on his cuffs, the blood still dry at his collar. But something in his face had changed. The tiredness was still there. The pain was still there. What had been added was the thing that had been folded away while he was hiding. He looked at the first man and said one sentence. Han Sok-jin, you took 22 minutes. His voice was not loud. It was the voice he had not used yet in front of Mariah. It carried. Han Sok-jin's jaw moved once. The route was compromised. We swept it 3 times before approach. I know it was compromised. Sir, who sold it? Han Sok-jin did not answer with his mouth. He answered by turning his head a fraction of a degree toward the smaller man with the briefcase. The smaller man's polite smile did not move. The mole under his right eye sat in the same place. His glasses caught the morning light. Ash, Ji-hoon said. The smaller man's smile finally moved. It bent at one corner. Sajang-nim, he said. There has been a misunderstanding. There has been no misunderstanding. You sold the Newark route at 2340 last night. The buyer paid in 3 transfers through a Macau shell. The 3rd transfer routed back to a personal account in your wife's maiden name. You used the same account in 2022 when you bought the apartment in Queens. I told you then to close it. The smile bent further. Sajang-nim, you sold a route I was on. I did not know you would be on it. That is the wrong defense. Yoon Do-yoon. Ash, set the briefcase down on the asphalt very gently, the way a man sets down something he no longer plans to lift. He adjusted the glasses on his nose with one knuckle. He looked, for the first time, at Mariah. She was still standing where she had stood for the last hour, one step in front of the crate, the olive-green canvas tote against her hip, the light cream blouse with a fresh smear of asphalt along the sleeve, from where Derek's foot had brushed her when he stumbled. Her hands were open. She did not move when the smaller man looked at her. Sajang-nim, Ash said softly, his eyes still on Mariah. The woman. What about her? She was not part of the arrangement. I know. She has seen. I know. It is a complication. Ji-hoon did not look at Mariah. He kept his eyes on Ash, but he answered the question Ash had not quite asked, and he answered it in English, and he answered it loud enough that every person in the alley heard him. She fed me bread, Ji-hoon said. She gave me water. She stood between me and a camera. She did not ask my name. She is not a complication. She is the reason you are standing instead of kneeling. Han Sok-jin's head did not move, but his hand moved. It moved a quarter of an inch toward the inside of his jacket, and stopped there, and waited. Ash adjusted the glasses again. Yes, Sajang-nim. Take him. It was not loud. 2 of the men from the SUVs were already walking. They did not run. They were not in a hurry. They reached Ash, and one of them picked up the briefcase, and the other took Ash by the elbow with a grip that looked, from where Mariah stood, almost gentle. Ash did not resist. He let himself be turned toward the SUV. As he passed Ji-hoon, he bowed his head a fraction. I taught your father's books, Ash said quietly. That is why this is sad, Ji-hoon said, not why it is different. Ash was put into the second SUV. The door closed without a sound. The window did not lower. The smaller man's silhouette did not turn back. The alley did not understand what it had just watched, but the alley understood that it had watched something. A second man bent and lifted the briefcase Ash had set down. He carried it the way one carries something hot. He set it in the trunk of the third SUV and closed the trunk gently, as though the contents inside were not paper but glass. Whatever the briefcase held, it was no longer Ash's, and it had become, in the space of 40 seconds, the heaviest object in the alley. Han Sok-jin turned his head a quarter turn. He spoke into the small device at his collar in Korean. 6 syllables. The device clicked twice. Somewhere on a rooftop 2 blocks west, a man Mariah had never seen lowered a long lens and walked away from the parapet. The alley breathed. Derek had not moved. Tasha had not moved. Leah had taken 3 steps back without realizing it, and the back of her pastel hoodie was now against the wall of Mariah's building. Mariah turned her head, slowly, and looked at Ji-hoon. He was looking at her now. For the first time in the entire morning, he looked at her the way the rest of the world was about to look at her. Not the way a man on a crate looks at the woman who brought him bread. The way a man who owns 3 city blocks looks at the only person inside those blocks he owes something to. Miss Woods, he said. She did not answer. She was waiting. Your name is Mariah Woods. Yes. You work at the Halsted Community Clinic on the corner of Halsted and 47th. Yes. Your manager is named Denise Porter. The name landed in the alley like a small stone in a glass of water. Tasha's mouth opened slightly. Derek's eyes moved sideways to Mariah and then back to Ji-hoon and then to the polished shoes again. Yes, Mariah said. She called you 4 times in the last hour. Yes. She told you that you would not have a job by the end of the day. Mariah did not answer. She did not need to. Ji-hoon raised his hand. It was a small gesture, 2 fingers lifted from his thigh, the kind of gesture a man uses when he has spent decades being understood without speaking. Han Sok-jin produced a phone from inside his jacket. He did not look at it. He held it out, screen forward, toward Ji-hoon. Sajangnim. Ji-hoon did not take it. He glanced at the screen. The Halstead Community Clinic is owned by a non-profit, he said. The non-profit's operating endowment is held in trust by Lattice Continental Holdings. Lattice Continental Holdings has 6 subsidiaries. One of them owns this building. He nodded once at the brick wall behind him, the wall he had been propped against for the last hour. 3 of them own the block. 2 of them own the clinic. All 6 of them are mine. He let that sit. Denise Porter has signed 16 incident reports about you in 3 years. 14 of them were dismissed at the clinic's HR level. 2 of them reached the board. The board is appointed by the trust. The trust is mine. The reports never reach the trust because Denise's husband sits on the appeals committee, and her husband was appointed by my predecessor, who is dead. Mariah's fingers, which had been open at her sides, closed slowly. Mr., she said. The word came out flat. Kang. Mr. Kang. Yes. Why are you telling me this? He almost smiled. It was the first thing close to a smile she had seen on him. It did not last. Because you are about to ask me a question, he said, and I want you to ask it knowing what you are asking. She looked at the alley. She looked at Derek, who was no longer a man holding a phone. She looked at Tasha, who was no longer a girl filming for content. She looked at Leah, whose back was still against the wall. She looked at the SUV holding Ash, who had taught a man's father's books. She looked at the broken thermos. She looked at the bread crust that had rolled into the seam between 2 bricks. She looked back at Ji-hoon. Don't hurt them, she said. The alley went quiet in a different way than it had been quiet before. Han Sok-jin's eyes moved to Ji-hoon's face. Ji-hoon did not move his eyes from Mariah's. Say that again, he said. Slowly. Don't hurt them. She lifted her chin slightly. Whatever you do, don't hurt them. They are stupid. They are not dangerous. Don't hurt them. Miss Woods. That is what I am asking. Miss Woods, you have been kneeling in dust for an hour for a man whose name you did not know, and the first thing you ask for yourself is that the men who filmed you not be hurt. They are not the men who filmed me, Mariah said. They are kids who filmed a video. Derek's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Ji-hoon looked at him. For 3 full seconds he looked at him. Then he looked back at Mariah. No one will be hurt, he said. Not in the way you are imagining. The world they live in will become smaller. That is all. They will keep their bodies. They will lose the things they have used their bodies to take from people like you. Mariah did not understand all of it. She understood enough. And Denise, she said. Denise has finished, Ji-hoon said. He raised the 2 fingers again. Han Sok-jin spoke into a small device at his collar in Korean. He spoke for less than 10 seconds. The device clicked. Somewhere uptown, in a beige office with rimless glasses on a desk and a pearl earring lying next to a coffee cup gone cold, a woman who had spent the last hour preparing a disciplinary file was about to receive a call that would end her authority before the file was closed. Han Sok-jin stepped forward. Sajangnim. The car is ready. Dr. Park is at the residence. Ji-hoon braced his hands on the crate. He did not stand right away. He looked once more at Mariah, who had not moved from the step she had taken in front of him an hour ago. Miss Woods. Yes. May I borrow your shoulder? She stared at him. My leg is worse than I let you see, he said. I would rather not be carried out of this alley by my own men in front of these 3. She did not laugh. She did not smile. She stepped forward, set her tote down carefully on the crate, and offered her arm. He took it. His hand on her forearm was lighter than she had expected. The grip of a man who had spent his entire life being careful about how much weight he placed on other people. He stood. He stood badly. The right leg buckled. She held him. He found his balance against her shoulder. Together, slowly, they walked the 8 steps to the first SUV. Derek had not moved. Tasha had not moved. Leah had begun, silently, to cry. At the SUV door, Ji-hoon paused. He did not turn back to look at the 3 of them. He spoke to Han Sok-jin without raising his voice. The video on her phone, the video on his phone, the video on her friend's phone, the re-uploads, the screenshots, the block group on the messaging app, the accounts that posted it, the accounts that liked it. Yes, Sajangnim, by tonight. Yes, Sajangnim. And Han, Sir, Miss Woods chose what she chose. Honor it, no bodies. Understood. Ji-hoon turned his head slightly toward Mariah. He did not speak. He let her go. The door of the SUV opened. He bent, with effort, and lowered himself into the leather seat. The pain on his face was honest for 1 second before it went away again. Before the door closed, he said one more thing. Miss Woods. Yes. My driver will return in 90 minutes. There is a meeting at the clinic at 11:30 that you will want to be at. Do not change your blouse. Wear it exactly as it is. The door closed. The SUV pulled away. The second SUV pulled away with Ash inside it. The third SUV pulled away last, slow, taking the corner the same careful way it had arrived. The alley was empty again. The morning light was the same morning light it had been before. The wall was the same wall. Mariah stood for a long time looking at the crate. Then she turned around. Derek was sitting on the curb. He was not filming. He was not speaking. The phone hung loose between his knees. Tasha was crouched a few feet away with her hands over her face, the false eyelash on her left eye half unstuck, her shoulders moving in small jerks. Leah was already gone. Mariah saw the back of her pastel hoodie disappearing around the building corner. Mariah picked up the broken thermos. She picked up the lid. She picked up the crust of bread. She put them in the olive green tote. She walked past Derek without looking at him. She walked back to her apartment. She climbed the 4 flights. She unlocked her door. She set the tote on the kitchen counter. She did not change her blouse. She washed her face. She brushed her hair back into the same sleek, practical ponytail. She drank a glass of water standing up. At 11:15, she heard a car horn from the street. She went downstairs. A black sedan was waiting, not an SUV, not large, just a clean black sedan with a driver who got out and opened the rear door for her without speaking. She got in. The leather smelled like a car that was cleaned every day by someone who knew what they were doing. The driver pulled away from the curb so smoothly she did not feel it. 12 minutes later, she walked into the Halsted Community Clinic through the front door, not the staff door, and the woman at the reception desk, the woman who had taken Mariah's job 9 months ago when Mariah had been moved to the night front desk so Denise could give the day shift to her niece, looked up and did not know what to do with her face. The lobby was full. There were 4 men in dark suits standing along the back wall. There were 2 lawyers in lighter suits standing near the elevators with leather portfolios under their arms. There was a stenographer at a small folding table that had not been there yesterday. There was Denise Porter, standing very straight in her beige pencil skirt and cream silk blouse buttoned to the top, her platinum blonde bob held in place by a fresh comb, her ID lanyard on, her thin pressed lips pressed thinner than usual. Denise saw Mariah and tried to smile. The smile did not work. "Mariah," Denise said, "I am so glad you came in early. We have a small administrative matter to Mrs. Porter." The voice came from the elevator. One of the lawyers stepped forward. He did not look at Denise. He looked at the stenographer. "For the record, 11:27. Mrs. Denise Porter, manager Halsted Community Clinic, is hereby notified of immediate suspension of all administrative authority over personnel, scheduling, disciplinary processes, vendor selection, and patient triage protocols at this facility. An external audit by the Trust's Compliance Office will begin at noon. Mrs. Porter will surrender her access card, her facility keys, and her email credentials before leaving the premises today. She is not dismissed. She is suspended pending audit. Do you understand the notification, Mrs. Porter?" Denise's mouth opened. Nothing came out for a full 3 seconds. "I do not." "Yes or no, Mrs. Porter?" "Yes. Sign here." The stenographer slid a paper across the folding table. Denise's hand shook so badly that the first attempt at the signature was unreadable. She signed again. She set the pen down. She did not look at Mariah. The second lawyer turned to Mariah. "Miss Woods." "Yes. By order of the Halsted Community Trust, effective immediately, you are being promoted from front desk reception to the newly created position of Coordinator of Humanized Patient Care, with full authority over reception staff scheduling, patient intake protocols, and grievance escalation. Your salary is being adjusted accordingly. You will be reporting directly to the Trust Chief of Operations, not to clinic management. Do you accept the position?" She felt the asphalt smear on her blouse against her wrist. "Yes," she said. "Sign here." She signed. She kept the asphalt smear. The lawyer slid a second folder across the table. It was thicker than the first. The cover bore a single line of black type, no logo, no letterhead. Kang Humanitarian Foundation, Charter draft. The lawyer opened it to a tabbed page. Miss Woods, the trust is also chartering, effective today, a private foundation funded by Mr. Kang's personal holdings. Its mandate is the protection of low-income clinic staff against retaliatory management practices in the 5 boroughs. The council seats 9 members. 6 have been appointed. 3 remain. One of the 3 is being offered to you. The seat carries a stipend, a vote, and a veto on intake of new cases. There is no obligation to accept today. I accept. The lawyer paused. Miss Woods, the council does meet quarterly in Manhattan and once a year in Seoul. The travel, I accept. Yes, Miss Woods. She signed the 2nd page. She signed the 3rd. She did not read the small type. She trusted that the small type, like everything else in the last 2 hours, had already been decided in her favor by a man on a crate who had counted minutes while she had counted coins. Behind her, a sound. Denise Porter's heels, moving toward the lobby door. The heels paused. Mariah did not turn around. The heels began again. The lobby door closed behind Denise without ceremony. The receptionist who had taken Mariah's day shift 9 months ago lowered her head over her keyboard and did not look up for the rest of the morning. The lawyer with the lighter suit closed his portfolio. A car will take you home, Miss Woods. Mr. Kang has requested that you take the remainder of today off. The clinic's new patient intake protocols, drafted by you, will be reviewed Monday at 9. The Trust's Chief of Operations will meet you here at 8:45. Your office is on the 2nd floor. It used to be Mrs. Porter's. I understand. One more thing. He produced an envelope. It was thinner than the one Margaret would have called important in another lifetime. He laid it on the folding table. Mr. Kang asked that this be given to you in private. You may open it now or later. She picked it up. She did not open it. She put it in her olive green tote, in the inside pocket, the one with the zipper. Then she walked out of the clinic through the front door, past the 4 men in dark suits, past the stenographer folding her table, past the receptionist who did not look up. The black sedan was waiting at the curb. The driver opened the door. She got in. She rode home with the envelope against her ribs. At her kitchen counter, she set the tote down. She washed her hands. She poured a 2nd glass of water. She sat at the small table by the window, where she had counted coins that morning, where the bus ticket had been $3 short of the prescription. She took the envelope out. There was no letter inside. There was a single sheet of paper, folded once. On the paper, in handwriting that was steady and unhurried, 4 lines. The bread was good. The water was cold. You did not ask my name. I will not forget yours. Underneath the 4 lines, no signature, only 2 characters in black ink, drawn the way a man draws something he has drawn 10,000 times. She did not read Korean. She did not need to. She folded the paper. She put it back in the envelope. She put the envelope on the windowsill, propped against the glass, where the afternoon light would find it. Down on the street, 3 floors below, a city bus pulled away from the corner. A woman in a beige pencil skirt was standing at the bus stop with a cardboard box at her feet, the contents of an office she would not be returning to, balanced on the curb. She was not crying. She was looking at the asphalt as though the asphalt had an answer. Mariah turned away from the window. In the alley behind her building, the crate where a man had sat for an hour was still there. The broken thermos was not. Someone had picked it up. Derek Halloran had picked it up. He had carried it 3 blocks before he understood that he was carrying it, and then he had not known where to put it down, so he had taken it home and set it on his kitchen counter, where it would sit for 2 weeks before his sister threw it away. Tasha Brennan would not film a video for content again for 6 months. The block group on the messaging app, by sundown, no longer contained the original clip, the re-uploads, the screenshots, or the accounts that had posted them. The accounts themselves remained. They had simply become quieter. The quiet was not a kindness, it was a notification. Leah Driscoll would move out of the neighborhood within the week. She would not say why. She did not know why. She only knew that she had stood with her back against a brick wall and watched something she did not have the language to describe, and the wall had not moved, and she could not stay near it. In a building Mariah had walked past every morning for 3 years without knowing it belonged to him, a man with a fresh white shirt and a single silver lapel pin was sitting in a chair while a doctor named Park finished a clean dressing on a leg that would carry a small limp for the rest of its life. He did not speak while the doctor worked. He looked out a window at a city that had not stopped moving. On the table beside him sat a phone. The screen was dark. He had not picked it up. Han Sok-jin entered the room. Sajangnim. Yes, it is done. The video, the re-uploads, the screenshots. By the close of business. And the woman. Promoted, Foundation Council, sedan home. She accepted both seats. Good. Sir. Yes. May I ask? Ji-hoon turned his head very slightly. The doctor finished a wrap and stepped back. Ask. Will you see her again? The Korean mafia boss did not answer immediately. He looked at the window. The window did not change. The city did not change. Somewhere 4 miles south, a woman was sitting at a small kitchen table next to an envelope propped against a glass pane, and she was drinking water she did not have to ration for the first time in 3 years. On Monday, he said, the Foundation Council meets to approve its first round of grants. I am the chair, she is a member. We will see each other on Monday. And after that, Seokjin. After that, Seokjin, I will see her as often as she allows. Han Seokjin bowed his head a quarter turn. The door closed without a sound. The doctor closed his bag. Ji-hoon was alone with the window. He did not smile. He did not move. He simply sat, in a clean shirt, in a quiet room, looking south, in the direction of a small kitchen and an olive green canvas tote on a counter, and a woman who had not asked his name. She knelt before she knew his name. That is why he never knelt for anyone else again. The phone on Mariah's kitchen counter buzzed against the chipped tile, and the sound was small, but it traveled through the apartment like a struck match. She was at the stove. She poured water into a chipped white mug, watched the steam rise, and only then crossed the room. The screen showed a number she didn't recognize. Under it, a notification from a video app she barely used. Tagged 3 times. She opened the first tag. 28,000 views. The thumbnail froze on her own face, mouth open, one hand raised. The title, Black Girl Defends Crippled Beggar. LOL. She closed the phone. In the small back room, Kang Ji-hoon sat upright on the folded blanket, his back straight against the wall, the borrowed shirt clean across his shoulders. His leg was extended. The dust had been brushed off his hair. He didn't look at the door. He listened. It's online, Mariah said. She kept her voice flat. How many? 28,000. Maybe more by now. He nodded once. His face did not change. The watch on his wrist ticked through another small pulse against the skin. Where? He said. Block app. Building chat. 2 of them tagged my name. Names of the ones who filmed. Derek, Tasha, Leah. She said them like she was reading from a list. I work with one of them. The other 2 live 2 doors down. Ji-hoon closed his eyes for exactly 1 breath. When he opened them, they were the same eyes. Calm, direct. He did not blink twice. Sit down, he said. She didn't sit. She stood in the doorway with the mug of tea between her palms, the heat pushing back against the cold thing climbing her ribs. From the front of the apartment, through the window above the sink, she could hear voices outside. 3, 4. Someone laughed. Someone else said something she could not make out, then said it again louder so she could. They're at the gate, she said. How many? 5, maybe 7. He nodded again. The watch ticked. He did not move toward the window. She walked to the front room. The blinds were half drawn. Through the slats she saw the alley mouth, and at the mouth she counted 7 people. 2 of them held phones up at chest height. A boy from the building across the street stood with a soda can in one hand, laughing at something on his screen. A woman she did not recognize leaned against the brick wall in pink shorts and white socks, her face tilted up to film the closed door of Mariah's building. The phone on the counter buzzed again. She picked it up. It was Denise Porter. Miss Woods. Yes, you will be at the clinic at 9 tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's my second day off. You will be at the clinic at 9 tomorrow morning. Conference room B, disciplinary meeting. I have already sent the notice through the staff portal. I expect you to be on time. On what charge? Conduct unbecoming of clinical staff. Public association with a known criminal element, bringing the reputation of this clinic into disrepute. We will go through the specifics in the meeting. Be on time. The line went dead. Mariah stood with the phone still pressed to her ear. The dial tone hummed. She lowered it slowly. Her hand was steady. She walked back to the small room. She put the mug down on the floor beside Ji-hoon's good leg. She crouched in front of him so her eyes were level with his. They scheduled a meeting, she said. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., to fire me. He looked at her. He took the mug. He did not drink. He set it down again, beside his own thigh. You won't go, he said. I have to go. You won't go alone. There's nobody to go with. He didn't answer that. He watched her face. She could feel him watching her, like he was measuring something, weighing it against another weight she could not see. Outside, in the alley, somebody knocked on the steel gate of the building. 3 sharp knocks. Then laughter. Then a voice she recognized. Mariah! Derek's voice, stretched thin, performing for the camera. Mariah, come on out. Bring your boyfriend. We just want to ask him a couple questions. More laughter. A woman's voice. Tasha. Mariah, baby, is he eating? Is he eating real food now? Did you cook for him? Tell him hi for the internet. Jihoon's hand closed over the edge of the blanket. Slow, deliberate. His knuckles whitened, then loosened again. How many? He said. More now. Maybe 10. Cameras? All of them. He nodded. The watch pulsed against his wrist a second time in 5 minutes. She didn't know what it was saying. She didn't ask. She went back to the window. She did not open the blinds. She stood half a step back from the slats and counted again. 11. 2 kids from the corner. The woman in pink shorts. Derek with the cap turned backward, his polo half tucked, sweat on his forehead. Tasha holding her phone in both hands like an offering. Leah behind her, half a step back, laughing too loud at things that were not funny. 3 men she did not recognize. And, at the back, near the corner of the bodega, an old woman from the 2nd floor watching with her arms folded and her mouth pulled small. Mariah's stomach turned once. Hard. The old woman from the 2nd floor was Mrs. Coleman. Mariah had walked her up the stairs twice this winter, carried her groceries, sat with her the night her cat died. And now Mrs. Coleman stood at the back of the crowd and watched the door of Mariah's building like she was waiting for proof of something she had always suspected. That was the part that bent her. That was the part that pressed on the soft place behind her sternum. Not Derek, not Tasha, not the unknown men, Mrs. Coleman. She turned from the window. Her phone buzzed. A text from Pastor Hollins at the corner church. I am hearing things this morning. Please call me. She put the phone face down. She did not call. She went back to the small room. Jihoon had moved. He was sitting forward now, his weight braced on his hands, his bad leg extended carefully. He had unbuttoned the borrowed shirt at the throat. The black ink of the tiger climbed from his collarbone toward his jaw. In the low light through the curtain, it looked like a thing that had been carved into him rather than drawn. Don't go to the window again, he said. They can't see me through the blinds. Don't go anyway. She didn't argue. She crouched again. This time she sat fully, cross-legged, on the cold linoleum. The borrowed shirt smelled faintly of her own detergent now. Lemon and almond. She had laundered every shirt in this apartment in the same lemon-almond soap for 3 years. The smell on him was the smell of her life. Listen to me, she said. He listened. I'm losing the job. Yes. I'm losing it tomorrow at 9. Yes. My aunt's prescription is $62 on Friday. He did not move. After tomorrow I have nothing. He looked at her. He did not give her pity. He did not give her promises. He did not give her anything she could turn over in her hand and inspect. Why did you bring me water? He said. She blinked. What? This morning. In the alley. Why? She thought about it. She thought about it for longer than she expected to. Because you weren't getting up, she said, and nobody else was going to. You knew what I was. I knew you weren't a beggar, that's all. How? Watch on your wrist. Shoes. Hands. Beggars don't have hands like yours. He almost smiled. The corner of his mouth moved less than a millimeter. Then it was still again. I have not been spoken to like that, he said. In 11 years. Like what? Like a person. She didn't know what to say to that. She didn't try. She picked up the mug of tea and drank from it herself, because he wasn't going to, and because the heat against her throat was steadying. Outside, the laughter changed shape. It got higher. Someone whooped. Someone shouted her last name now, not just her first. Woods, the way Denise said it on the phone. Loud and angular and meant to land. A new voice joined. A man she did not know. Get the boyfriend out. We just want to look at him. Jihoon's head turned a quarter inch toward the front of the apartment. He was tracking the count by ear. She could see it in the small movements of his jaw. 14, she said. She had not gone back to the window. She had counted by voices. Maybe 15. He nodded. The watch on his wrist pulsed a third time. This one was longer. A held vibration that ran for almost 2 full seconds. He looked down at it for the first time. Whatever it showed him, he did not show her. Mariah, he said. It was the first time he had used her name. She had told it to him in the alley. He had not used it. Until now. Yes. Do you have a back entrance? Service hallway. Behind the boiler. Comes out 2 buildings over. On the cross street. Anyone watching that side? I don't know. Find out, without going to the window, she thought. The boy on the 3rd floor. He stares out that side every afternoon. He'll have seen if anyone's there. Get him. He doesn't talk to people. He'll talk to you. Go. She stood. She put the mug on the windowsill. She did not look back at him. She climbed 2 flights and knocked on a door with a child's drawing of a yellow car taped at the bottom. Lucas opened it. 8 years old. She had braided his sister's hair last Easter when their mother was at the 2nd job. Lucas, baby. Look out your back window. Don't open it. Tell me if anyone's in the cross street. He went. He came back in 10 seconds. 2 guys, skinny, white. One has a red cap, by the dumpster. She put her hand on his head. Thank you, baby. Lock the door. He did. She went back down. She did not run. She walked steady, because someone in the building might be listening for the rhythm of her steps, and a running woman tells a story she did not yet want to tell. When she got back to the apartment, Ji-hoon was on his feet. He was leaning against the wall, his good leg taking the weight. The bad leg bent only slightly. He had buttoned the shirt to the throat again. The tiger was hidden. 2 of them in the back, she said. Skinny, white, red cap on one, by the dumpster. He absorbed it. They're not yours, she said. It was a guess. She wanted to see how he took it. They're not mine. Who are they? He did not answer. She didn't push. You can't go anywhere, she said. Your leg won't carry you to the corner. I am not going anywhere. Then what was the point? To know what we are inside of. She looked at him. He looked back. We are inside of a closed box, he said. Front and back. 11 at the gate. 2 at the dumpster. Phones. The clinic at 9. You losing the job. Your aunt's prescription on Friday. The box. Yes? Good. Good? It is better to see the box than to be in it without knowing. She almost laughed. The laugh came up halfway and stopped in her throat. You're crazy, she said. It came out soft. Almost fond. I am organized, he said. The watch on his wrist did not pulse again. The silence of it was its own message. He looked at it. He looked at her. You have a question, he said. A lot. Ask one. She thought. She picked. Are you going to tell me your name? He looked at her for a long moment. The kind of long where you can hear the refrigerator hum from the kitchen and the muffled voices through the wall and the small interior creak of a building settling on its bones. Not yet, he said. Why not? Because when I tell you my name, the world that comes with it walks into this room, and you don't get to send it back out once it's in. She held his gaze. And you think I can't handle that world. I think you can. I am not ready for you to. She did not know what to do with that sentence. So she did what she always did with sentences she could not place. She put it on a shelf inside her chest, and she went back to what was in front of her. They're going to break the gate, she said. They won't. Why? Because the gate is steel, and they're cowards. Cowards bang on steel for the camera. They don't push through it. He was right. The banging at the gate continued, and continued, and continued, and the gate did not move. Someone outside shouted that they could wait all day. Someone else replied that they were getting tired. A third voice told the second voice to shut up, because the live was at 30,000 views now and growing. Mariah crossed to the kitchen. She took down a tin from the top shelf, behind the rice. She counted her cash on the counter. $38.47. She closed the tin. Her phone buzzed. Denise again. A text this time. For clarification, your termination meeting is at 9 o'clock sharp. If you fail to appear, termination will be processed in absentia, and your final wages held pending review. She read it twice. She put the phone down. She went back to the small room. Ji-hoon was sitting again. The exertion of standing had cost him. She could see it in the line of his mouth. Tell me what to do, she said. He looked at her. No, he said. What do you mean no? You don't need me to tell you what to do. You came back here knowing what you were going to do. Say it. She thought about it. I'm going to the meeting, she said. At 9. I'm going to walk in. I'm going to let her fire me. I'm not going to argue with her. I'm not going to beg. I'm going to take my things and I'm going to walk out the front door past the front desk where everybody can see me. Why? Because if I sneak out the back like I did something wrong, I will believe for the rest of my life that I did something wrong. He nodded once. That is correct, he said. And then I'm going to walk to the pharmacy on 138th and I'm going to put $38 on my aunt's prescription, and I'm going to ask the pharmacist to hold the rest for me until Monday. Will he hold it? He's known her 30 years. He'll hold it. Good. And then I'm going to come back to this apartment and I am going to figure out what I do next, by myself. You are not by yourself. Tomorrow at 9 I am. He did not contradict her. He just looked at her. He looked at her like she was somebody he was deciding something about. The watch on his wrist pulsed once more. Short, a single beat. Outside, the laughter at the gate cracked. It cracked into something else. Confusion. A voice that said, "Wait." Another voice that said, "Who is that?" The banging on the steel gate stopped. Mariah went to the window. She did not pull the slats apart. She just listened. A car door closed somewhere down the block. Then a second car door. Then a third. The voices in the alley got quieter. Someone said something low and fast. Someone else laughed nervously. The kind of laugh that means the laughing was over, and the laugher had not yet realized it. Mariah turned from the window. "Something's coming up the block," she said. Jihoon did not move. He looked at her across the small, dim room. The shirt buttoned to the throat, the tiger hidden, the bad leg bent, the mug of tea cold on the floor beside him, his face perfectly still. "Yes," he said. "You knew." "I knew." When the watch went long, on the third pulse. "You didn't tell me. You weren't ready to hear it then. You are ready to hear it now." "Who is it?" He looked at her for one more breath. The refrigerator hummed. The voices in the alley shrank to almost nothing. Footsteps. Many footsteps. Not running. Walking. The walking of people who do not need to run. "Open the front door," he said. "Slowly. Stand behind it. Do not step out into the alley." Why? Because the alley does not belong to Derek anymore. She moved toward the front of the apartment, her hand on the latch of the door, the cold metal under her fingers. Outside, the street had gone almost silent. Almost. Underneath the silence, she could hear the slow, even, deliberate footsteps of men walking up an alley, like they owned every brick of it. But before her fingers finished the turn, the phone on the counter buzzed a fourth time. She froze with her hand on the cold metal. She let the latch settle back. She crossed to the counter. It was a video tag. Not from Derek. Not from Tasha. From a number labeled simply Clinic Portal. She opened it. The clinic had posted on its own community page. A statement. 3 paragraphs. Her name in the second paragraph. The word associate next to it, replaced by former in red letters that had not yet been corrected. The third paragraph thanked the community for bringing the situation to leadership's attention. Denise had not waited until 9. Denise had moved at noon. Mariah read it standing. The kitchen light hummed. Somewhere in the building a baby cried twice and was quieted. She read each line once. She did not read it again. She put the phone face down. "She moved early," she said to the small back room. Jihoon did not answer. He was listening to the alley. "The statement is up. My name on it. Former." "On what platform?" "The clinic community page, Block app. Everyone in the building gets it." "How long has it been up?" She checked. 11 minutes. He nodded. She breathed in once. She breathed out once. She did not cry. She walked back to the small back room. Jihoon was watching the door for her. The shirt was buttoned. The bad leg was folded. The watch on his wrist sat dark and quiet. "They posted it already," she said. "Public, with my name. I heard. It says former. I heard that too. There is no meeting at 9. There never was. The meeting was the post. Yes. So I do not have a job to lose tomorrow." "No. I lost it 11 minutes ago." He did not soften the sentence for her. He did not add words around it. He let it sit in the room exactly as she had laid it down. She sat down on the floor across from him. She crossed her legs. She put her hands flat on her own knees, palms down. "Now what?" she said. "Now you breathe," he said. "Once, then again." She breathed once, then again. "Good." She breathed a third time. When she opened her eyes, she was steady. "I'm not going to the meeting at 9, she said. "No, because there is no meeting at 9. "No, I am going to the pharmacy at 8. On the way, I am going to stop at the clinic. I am going to walk in the front door. I am going to walk past the front desk, where I have sat for 4 years. I am going to walk into Denise's office. I am going to put my badge on her desk. I am not going to say anything. I am going to walk out. Why not say anything? Because anything I say she will use, and anything I do not say will sit in her mouth for the rest of her life." He looked at her for a long second. "That is correct," he said. She nodded, mostly to herself. The footsteps in the alley were closer now, many feet. The strange, polite quiet of a group of men who do not have to hurry. A new sound joined. Doors. Heavy doors. 3 of them, opening one after the other on the curb at the alley mouth. She heard the soft mechanical thump of expensive hinges. She heard the change in air the way you hear weather change. In the alley, Derek's voice tried one more joke. It came out thinner than before. Half a laugh trailed it. The laugh died alone. Tasha said something. The word was Mariah's name, but with a question mark hooked to the end of it that had not been there an hour ago. Mariah looked at the man in the back room. He looked back at her. His hands were folded on top of his good knee. His face was the face of someone who had spent his life listening to footsteps in alleys and reading the precise tonnage of the men attached to them. "Stand up," he said. She stood. "Walk to the front of the apartment. Stand behind the door, the way I told you. Not in front of the window. Not in the door frame. Behind the door." She walked. "Do not open it until I say." "Okay." She positioned herself, her shoulder against the inside wall, her ear 2 inches from the wood, her hand resting on the latch but not turning it. Outside, the footsteps reached the gate. They stopped. A voice spoke, not loud, not raised. A man's voice, deep, polite, carrying every consonant exactly. Korean accent under American training. "Step away from the gate, please." Nobody answered. "Step away from the gate, all of you. Phones down. Now." The voice did not shout. It did not need to. There was a quality to it, like a door closing in a room you had not realized you were trapped in. Mariah heard a phone clatter against pavement. Then another. "Pick up your phones. Turn them off. Hand them to the gentleman on your left." A pause. "He is not asking you twice." Mariah pressed her ear closer to the wood. She heard Derek say, "Look, man, you will not speak." That was all. The voice did not threaten. It just removed Derek's permission to talk, the way you might remove a coat from a hook. Derek did not speak again. In the back room, Ji-hoon shifted his weight. She could not see him. She could hear the soft scrape of fabric against the wall. "Mariah," he said. His voice was low. It carried easily through the small apartment. "Yes. Open the door." She turned the latch. The door swung inward 6 inches. She did not push it further. She stood behind it the way he had told her. Through the gap, the alley light fell across the linoleum of her hallway in a long, bright stripe. Down the alley, framed in the gap, she could see a wedge of the world. She could see Derek's back, hunched, cap gone, phone gone, hands at his sides, palms out. Behind him, 3 pairs of polished black shoes in a loose semicircle. Above the shoes, the lower hem of 3 black suits. She could not see the faces. She could see the back of Tasha's neck trembling. Leah's pink hoodie pulled up, chin tucked. The woman in pink shorts standing motionless, her phone now in someone else's gloved palm. A 4th pair of black shoes stepped into the frame. This one paused, then turned, then began to walk, unhurried, up the alley toward the open door of Mariah's apartment. The shoes were unscuffed. The pants over them broke perfectly across the instep. The watch on the wrist that swung at the man's side caught the light once, twice, and was gone. Mariah did not step back. She did not step forward. She held the door at 6 inches and she watched the shoes come. In the back room, behind her, Kang Ji-hoon spoke. "Mariah." "Yes." "Whatever is said at this door, do not kneel." "What?" "Do not kneel. Do not bow. Do not lower your eyes. Stand the way you have been standing. That is the only thing I am asking of you." She did not understand what he meant. She nodded anyway. Her hand was steady on the door. The shoes were 10 feet away now. 8. 6. The man stopped at the threshold. She could see him now. Tall, Korean, square jaw, close-cropped black hair with gray at the temples, a faint scar across his left eyebrow, black gloves, black tie, an earpiece tucked behind his collar. His face was a face that had not smiled in a working environment in 15 years. He looked at her. He did not look past her into the apartment. He looked at her. She looked back. She did not kneel. She did not bow. She did not lower her eyes. He lowered his head. 1 inch, no more. A precise, controlled, deliberate inclination of the chin toward his own chest. Eyes briefly closed, then up again. "Miss Woods," he said. She did not answer. She did not know what answer there was. "I am Han Sok-jin. I am here for our employer. May we speak?" Behind her, in the small back room, she heard Kang Ji-hoon, the man with the tiger tattoo on his neck, and the borrowed shirt buttoned at the throat, and one bad leg folded under him on a blanket on her linoleum floor. Exhale, slowly, for the first time since she had pulled him in from the wall that morning. She held the door. She did not open it further. She did not close it. She stood the way he had asked her to stand, and somewhere behind Han Suk-jin, at the mouth of the alley where 11 people had stood laughing 40 minutes ago, the silence was no longer the silence of a joke landing. It was the silence of a door that had just closed on the wrong side of the room, with all of them inside. Han Suk-jin did not move from his bow. He held the angle of his spine at the exact degree that a man holds it when he is delivering a sentence rather than a greeting, and the alley held that angle with him, every brick and every window, and every held breath bending to the line he had drawn from his forehead, to the cracked concrete at Kang Ji-hoon's feet. Mariah Woods stood beside the tray. She did not let go of the handle. The plastic edge cut into the soft skin between her thumb and her index finger, and she welcomed the small pain because it gave her something to anchor against while the rest of the world rearranged itself around a name she had not been told until 40 seconds ago. Sir Kang. The two syllables sat in the air like a stamp pressed into wax. She watched the wax cool. Ji-hoon lifted his hand from the brick. He did not lean on Han Suk-jin. He did not lean on the wall. He pushed himself upright on the bad leg, and the bad leg held, because it had been told to hold by the part of him that did not negotiate with pain in front of strangers. The torn shoulder of the black wool suit caught the morning light. The dust on the cuffs caught it too. None of it diminished him now. The damage read, suddenly, as a record rather than a state. He looked at Mariah first, not at Han Suk-jin, not at the SUVs, not at the mouth of the alley where Derek Halloran's backwards cap had gone very still above Derek Halloran's very pale face. "You can put the tray down," Ji-hoon said. His voice was low. It was the same voice that had said, "Do not call the police" 3 hours earlier, and the sameness of it was, in its own quiet way, the most disorienting thing in the alley. It has done its work. Mariah set the tray on the upturned milk crate. The chipped mug of warm water did not spill. The half slice of buttered bread did not slide. She straightened, and she felt her own spine find the same upright line Ji-hoon had just claimed, and she did not know whether she was imitating him or whether something in her had been waiting all morning for permission to stand that way. Han Suk-jin rose from his bow. He did not look at Mariah. He looked at the alley. He counted it. She watched his eyes move along the windows, along the fire escapes, along the dumpster, along the 3 phones still raised at the far end, where Tasha Brennan and Leah Driscoll had forgotten that their arms were tired. He counted the 11 who had laughed. He counted the 4 who had drifted closer to laugh later. He counted the 2 upstairs neighbors leaning on their sills with coffee. He counted Denise Porter, who was not in the alley but whose voice was, because the call had ended 7 minutes ago, and the sentence about the disciplinary meeting was still sitting in the air where Mariah had hung up. Then Han Suk-jin spoke. He spoke in English, because the alley needed to understand him, and he spoke at a volume that did not raise itself but that traveled the full length of the block, the way a flat stone travels a flat lake. "This is private property. As of 9:41 this morning," he said. "Every device that has recorded in this corridor since 6 a.m. is now part of an ongoing internal review. You will be contacted. You will cooperate. You will not delete. Deleting will be treated as destruction of evidence. Are we clear?" It was not a question. Nobody answered. The silence answered for them. The second SUV opened. A woman in a charcoal pantsuit stepped down with a slim leather folio under her arm and a phone already at her ear. She did not look at the alley. She looked at her phone. She spoke into it in Korean, then in English, then in Korean again, and the rhythm of her speech was the rhythm of a person reading items off a list and watching them be checked. The third SUV opened. 2 men in identical black suits stepped down. They did not approach Ji-hoon. They positioned themselves at the 2 narrow exits of the alley, one at the brick gap by the dumpster, one at the mouth where the SUVs were parked, and they stood the way doors stand. Not threatening, closed. Ji-hoon turned his head, slowly, toward Mariah. The light bruise on his left cheekbone caught the sun. The dried cut on his right brow caught it too. He looked at her for what felt to her like a long time, and was, by the alley's clock, perhaps 3 seconds. "You did not ask," he said. She did not understand the sentence at first. Then she did. "My name," he said. "For 4 hours. You did not ask. You said not to call the police," she answered. Her voice came out steadier than she expected. "A name didn't seem like the part you wanted me to push on." The corner of his mouth did something that was not quite a smile. It was the shape a smile makes when it has not been used in a while and has to remember the muscles. Kang Ji-hoon, he said. That is the name. I will not ask you to forget you heard it from him. His eyes moved, briefly, to Han Sok-jin and back. I would have preferred you heard it from me earlier, with less audience. Mariah Woods, she said, because there was nothing else to say that would not be smaller than that. I work the front desk at Riverside Community Health, off 22nd and Lenox. Something happened in Ji-hoon's face. It was not surprise. Surprise is for people who do not already know. It was confirmation, lining up neatly with a fact he had been carrying for several minutes without showing it. The woman with the folio paused her call. Han Sok-jin's eyes flicked, once, to Ji-hoon, and back to the alley. Riverside Community Health, Ji-hoon repeated. He said it the way a man reads a familiar address aloud to make sure the envelope is going to the right house. Operated under the Green Line Community Foundation. Foundation grant funded through the Hanseo Welfare Trust. The trust holds a controlling philanthropic stake. The trust is mine. The tote bag strap shifted on Mariah's shoulder. She did not adjust it. She did not move. The clinic where you work, Ji-hoon said, gently, the way a person delivers information that is going to take a moment to settle, is downstream of a foundation I built 4 years ago. I have never set foot in the lobby. I sign the quarterly report. I do not read it. I should have read it. His eyes moved, this time, all the way down the alley to where Denise Porter was not, but where the residue of her phone call still hung. I am going to read the next one. Mariah heard her own breath. She had not known she was holding it. You're saying, she said slowly, because she wanted to say it correctly, that the woman who just told me I'm fired works for a building that you, in some long-line corporate way, own. Indirectly, Ji-hoon said, through 3 subsidiaries and a board. Yes. The alley made a sound that was not a sound. It was the small collective shift of 15 people understanding the same sentence at the same second. Tasha Brennan's phone wobbled. Leah Driscoll's hand went, slowly, to her mouth. Derek Halloran did not move at all. The cap on his head sat at the angle it had been set when he had still believed himself the loudest voice in his own afternoon. The woman with the folio resumed her call. She spoke 3 sentences in Korean, ended with a single English word, confirmed, and turned to Han Sok-jin. He nodded once. She walked toward Ji-hoon. She stopped at a polite distance. She held out the folio. She did not open it for him. She waited. Ji-hoon did not take it. He looked instead, past her, at the second car. The driver of the second car had not gotten out. The driver was watching the rear-view mirror. The rear-view mirror was watching the alley behind the alley, the narrow service road that ran along the back of the buildings. The place where, 3 hours and 46 minutes earlier, in the dark before dawn, a black town car had not arrived to pick Kang Ji-hoon up from a meeting that should have ended at 4 a.m. Han Sok-jin, Ji-hoon said. Sir, the car last night. We are still confirming the timeline, Sir Kang. Confirm it now. Han Sok-jin took a small device from his inner pocket. It was the size of a deck of cards. He held it flat in his palm. He did not look down at it. He spoke to it. The device answered in his ear through a thin coil of wire that ran behind his collar. Mariah could not hear what it said. She could see Han Sok-jin's jaw set, very slightly, around what it said. The route from the Daewon meeting to the safe house, Han Sok-jin said, was modified at 3:11 a.m. The modification was entered on the internal scheduling system under a clearance signature that should not have had access to that route. Whose signature? Han Sok-jin paused. The pause was professional. It was the pause of a man who has been told to deliver the answer aloud in front of a civilian and is weighing the protocol against the order. Speak it, Ji-hoon said. Yoon Do-yoon, Han Sok-jin said. Operations accountant. Western Books. Sir, his clearance was downgraded 6 weeks ago following the Macau audit. It should not have reached that route. It reached it. Yes, Sir Kang. Through whose terminal? His own. Ji-hoon was quiet for 2 heartbeats. The bruise on his cheekbone moved with the muscle along his jaw. Ash, he said. The single English word floated. He insisted I keep calling him Ash. For 9 years. Han Sok-jin did not answer. He did not need to. Where is he now? In his office at the Midtown branch. He arrived at 7:52 this morning. He has not left his desk. He has refreshed our internal news feed 11 times in the last hour. Something cold and quiet passed across Ji-hoon's face and was gone. It was not anger. Anger is the shape grief takes when it has not yet been organized. This was the shape after. He was waiting to read about my body. Yes, Sir Kang. Instead, he is going to read about 3 SUVs. Yes, Sir Kang. Ji-hoon nodded. Once. He turned his head very slightly toward the woman with the folio. He still did not take it. The video, he said. Tell me the spread. She read from her phone. She read in the flat voice of a person reading a weather report. Initial upload 9:04 a.m. local from a device registered to Halloran, Derek J. cross-posted at 9:07 by an account registered to Brennan, Tasha M. Re-uploaded with added captions at 9:15 by an account registered to Driscoll, Leah R. Aggregated across 4 platforms. Current view total, 81,400. Growth rate, climbing. Comment sentiment majority mocking, minority concerned. 3 local meme accounts have shared. 1 regional account, 200,000 followers, has shared in the last 6 minutes. Any law enforcement engagement. None visible. None expected. Public order officers are not going to engage with a viral video of a man being offered bread. Mariah felt her stomach turn over. She had known the numbers would be ugly. She had not known they would have shape. Take it down, Ji-hoon said. The woman with the folio glanced at him, briefly. Sir Kang, the video, all copies, public retraction or quiet pull-down. Quiet first, Ji-hoon said. I do not want the people behind those phones. And here his eyes moved, slowly, to Tasha Brennan and Leah Driscoll, and Derek Halloran in turn, to be able to tell themselves later that they were censored. I want them to watch their own posts disappear and have to sit with the fact that the internet decided it was not interested. Then I want the retractions, public, each account. The exact wording will be sent within the hour. They will sign it. They will post it from their own hands. Their followers will watch them do it. Understood, Sir Kang. The man in the gray cargo pants, Ji-hoon added, mildly. Halloran. He drives a delivery route for a logistics subcontractor that ferries pharmaceutical supplies into the Riverside Clinic, among others. I would like a full audit of his subcontract open today. If the audit is clean, the audit is clean. If the audit is not clean, the contract terminates. Understood. The young woman with the pink nails, Brennan. Her employer is a chain salon 2 blocks from here. I have no interest in her employer. I am interested in whether her recent social posts violate the salon's contractor agreement. They almost certainly do. Their HR will be informed. They will make their own decision. Understood. The young woman in the pink hoodie, Driscoll. She works part-time at a fast casual chain on 28th. Same approach. Their HR, their decision. Understood, Sir Kang. He paused. He looked, then at Mariah. He looked at her for a noticeably longer beat than he had looked at any of the names he had just spent. The woman who called Ms. Woods at 9:18 this morning, he said. Denise Porter, clinic manager, front office division. Verify her tenure. Verify her hiring authority. Verify the disciplinary policy she invoked. Then verify whether she invoked it correctly. The woman with the folio tilted her head. And if she did not, Sir Kang. If she did not, Ji-hoon said, the Foundation will require its grantee facility to bring its disciplinary procedures into compliance. The Foundation does not run the clinic. The Foundation simply funds it. The Foundation can, however, condition its continued funding on basic procedural integrity. The board will be informed this afternoon. Ms. Porter's authority over front desk staff will be reviewed by an outside panel within the week. I am told these reviews tend to produce reassignments. Understood, Sir Kang. She is not to be fired today, Ji-hoon added, evenly. I do not want her fired in a way that allows her to tell a story about being fired. I want her stripped of the authority she misused, slowly, on paper, in front of the people whose names she has been signing under for 6 years. I want her to walk into a meeting next month and discover that the meeting is hers to attend, not to lead. That is the lesson. The woman with the folio wrote nothing down. The wrote nothing down was, somehow, more alarming than writing it down would have been. It meant the instructions were already considered final. Understood, Sir Kang. Ji-hoon turned, then, fully, toward Mariah. The bad leg held. The watch caught the light. The watch had been recording the alley since the moment she had knelt with the chipped mug, and the watch would, in some quiet conference room later, replay every face that had stood in the mouth of this alley, and laughed. But the watch was not what he was thinking about now. Ms. Woods, yes. You will not return to your shift this afternoon. She felt the back of her neck go cold. I can't afford to. You will not return to your shift, he said again, gently, because your shift, as currently structured, is below the floor of what your time is worth. And I will not pay you to stand at a counter being yelled at by a woman whose authority is about to be removed. You will be on full pay from this morning, through the foundation, through a coordinator stipend that has existed on paper for 8 months and that no one at Riverside has bothered to fill. The stipend is yours. The role title will be discussed with you, not at you. It will not be discussed today. Today, you go home. You take your aunt her medication. You eat something. You sleep if you can. Mariah opened her mouth. She closed it. She opened it again. I don't, she started. She stopped. I don't take charity well. This is not charity, Ji-hoon said. Charity is what was on the tray. I owed that. You did not. The role is not charity. The role is a position that has been waiting for the correct person. You are the correct person. I knew this approximately 40 minutes after the bread arrived. It took me until now to be able to say it out loud. The alley had gone almost silent. Even the traffic on the cross street sounded as if it were happening behind a closed window. Mariah felt her right hand clench, slowly, around nothing, and then unclench, slowly, around nothing. Okay, she said. It was not agreement. It was acknowledgement. It was the word a person uses to mark that a sentence has been received and will be sat with. Okay, Ji-hoon repeated, just as softly. The woman with the folio took half a step back. Han Seok-jin took half a step forward. The door of the first SUV opened more widely. None of them touched Ji-hoon. They were arranging an exit without arranging him out of the conversation. Ji-hoon lifted his hand, briefly, in the direction of the tray on the milk crate. The chipped mug, the half slice of buttered bread. Leave it, he said. To Han Seok-jin. To the woman with the folio. To all of them. Leave the tray. The cleanup team can document around it. I want a photograph on file. Dated. Time-stamped. Filed under personal archive, not operational. That tray is going on a wall somewhere. I have not decided which wall. Understood, Sir Kang. He looked, last, at Derek Halloran. Derek had not moved in 11 minutes. The phone in Derek's hand was still angled, vaguely, toward the alley, although his thumb had long since stopped tapping anything. His mouth was slightly open. The smallness of his face inside its own backwards cap was, for Mariah, the first thing all morning that did not give her satisfaction. She had wanted satisfaction. It had not arrived. What had arrived instead was a tired sadness for a man who had ruined his own afternoon and did not yet know how many afternoons he had ruined. Ji-hoon did not speak to him. He looked at him for 2 seconds. Then he looked away. The not speaking was, in its way, the most precise sentence delivered in the alley all morning. He turned. He walked, with a perceptible limp but without leaning on Han Seok-jin, to the first SUV. Han Seok-jin opened the rear door. Ji-hoon paused, one hand on the frame, and looked back over his shoulder. Ms. Woods. Yes. My phone, before they took the SIM out and slid in the new one, had 4 missed calls on it from a number I did not recognize. They were yours. From when I was face down at 6:02. You called. Twice. You hung up before it could ring through. Then you walked outside and found me yourself. She had not known he knew that. Thank you, he said, for not waiting for the call to connect. He got into the car. The door closed. The window did not lower. The SUVs pulled out, slowly, in a tight 3-vehicle line, and the alley reopened around the space where they had been. And the space where they had been was now also the space where Han Seok-jin's bow had been, and the space where the sentence Sir Kang had been, and the alley would never, for any of the people standing in it, be the alley it had been at 5:59 that morning ever again. Mariah did not cry. She stood by the milk crate. She looked at the chipped mug. She looked at the half slice of buttered bread. She picked up the tray. She did not pick up the mug or the bread. She left them, exactly as he had asked, and she walked out of the alley with the empty tray under her arm, and her olive green canvas tote on her shoulder, and Tasha Brennan stepped out of her way without being asked, and Leah Driscoll stepped out of her way without being asked, and Derek Halloran did not step out of her way because Derek Halloran could not yet feel his own feet. She did not look at any of them. She went to her aunt's pharmacy. She paid for the prescription with the $7 and the coins. The pharmacist tried to give her change. She let him. She went home. She put the medication on the kitchen counter. She sat down on the edge of her bed. She did not turn on the television. She did not pick up her phone. She held the empty tray on her lap for a long time. Across the city, In a corner office on the 23rd floor of a midtown building, Yoon Do-yoon refreshed an internal news feed for the 12th time. The feed did not load. The feed had been disconnected from his terminal at 9:43 a.m., 4 minutes after Han Suk-jin had bowed in an alley off Lenox. Yoon Do-yoon's wire-rimmed glasses caught the overhead light. The small mole under his right eye was beaded with sweat. He reached for his desk phone. The desk phone did not have a dial tone. He reached for his cell. His cell had no signal. His door opened. It was not Han Suk-jin. It was the woman with the folio. She did not bow. She set the folio on his desk, closed, and she said, in a voice so polite it was almost kind, "Sir Kung would like a word with you. At the residence, not the office. Please bring nothing. Your briefcase will remain here. We will retrieve from it what we need." Yoon Do-yoon stood up. He stood up slowly, because his knees did not quite trust him. He looked at the folio on his desk. The folio did not look back. He left the office. He did not look back at the office either. He would not see the office again. The story, after that, became a quieter story. It did not become a less powerful story. The power of the story moved inside the walls of buildings where it could be measured in line items rather than in viral counts. The video of Kang Ji-hoon being offered bread on a milk crate vanished from public platforms in stages, the way a slow tide goes out. First the original, then the cross posts, then the captioned re-up, then the memes, then the screenshots, then the screenshots of the screenshots. By Wednesday evening, the search returned nothing. By Thursday evening, the search returned 3 retractions, signed in their own hands by Halloran, Derek J., and Brennan, Tasha M., and Driscoll, Leah R., each posted from their own accounts to their own followers, each phrased so carefully and so plainly that no reader could mistake it for performance. Each of them lost something that week. None of them lost everything. Ji-hoon had been specific about that. He was not in the business of erasing people. He was in the business of correcting them downward to the size they had chosen for themselves. Derek Halloran's pharmaceutical supply subcontract was audited on Friday morning. The audit found 2 undeclared substitutions in the inventory log from the previous quarter. The substitutions were minor. The substitutions were also, by the terms of the contract, sufficient cause for non-renewal. The contract did not renew. Derek Halloran went back to looking for work. He did not film any more alleys. Tasha Brennan's salon notified her on Saturday that her contractor agreement was being reviewed for social media compliance. The review took 11 days. At the end of the review, she was given a written warning and a 6-month posting restriction. The salon kept her. She kept the salon. She did not stand outside a residential alley with a phone in her hand again. Leah Driscoll was moved off her front counter shift at the fast casual chain on 28th and put on overnight prep. She kept the job. She did not keep the audience. By the 3rd week, her follower count had returned to roughly the size it had been before she had filmed a man on a milk crate. Denise Porter walked into her Monday meeting expecting to chair it. She discovered, at the door, that the meeting had a new chair, an outside facilitator from a compliance firm she had never heard of. The facilitator was polite. The facilitator was thorough. The facilitator was, by the end of the 2nd meeting, in possession of a complete record of every front desk warning Denise had issued in the last 4 years, cross-referenced against the disciplinary policy as written. Roughly 60% of the warnings did not match the policy. Denise was not fired. Denise was reassigned to administrative support, off the floor, off the front desk, with no authority to issue warnings to anyone. She kept her pay grade. She lost her room. She walked past the front desk every morning on her way to a smaller office at the back, and she did not look at the front desk, and the front desk did not look at her. Mariah Woods returned to Riverside Community Health on the Tuesday after the alley. She did not return to the front counter. She was met in the lobby by a member of the foundation board and walked to a small office she had not known existed, on the 2nd floor, with a window that looked out over the courtyard. Her name was already on the door. The title under her name read, Coordinator of Humanized Patient Care. She read the title 3 times before she sat down. She sat down. The chair fit. She had not known a chair could fit. The role, as it turned out, was not ceremonial. The role had teeth. The role allowed her to walk any patient through any administrative obstacle the clinic placed in their way, to override any front desk decision she judged inhumane, to call any department head and require an answer within the hour. She used the role carefully. She used it often. Within 3 months, complaint volume at the clinic had dropped by 41%. Within 6 months, The foundation had asked her to help design the same role for 2 other grantee facilities. She said yes to one, and not yet to the other. She was learning the shape of her own no, and somewhere in a quieter neighborhood, in a quieter building, on a quieter floor, Kang Ji-hoon sat in a charcoal black tailored 2-piece suit with no tie and a single silver lapel pin, and he signed the founding documents of a foundation that did not yet have a name. The lawyers across the table suggested 4 names. He rejected 3. The 4th he kept, with one small change to the middle word. He looked, then, at the empty chair beside him at the long table. The empty chair had a folder in front of it. The folder had Mariah Woods's name on the cover. The folder was for a council seat she had not yet been asked to take. He would ask her on Thursday. She would say yes on Friday. She would not say it because of the alley. She would say it because she had read the bylaws on Thursday night and had found, on page 11, a clause she wanted to redraft, and she did not yet trust anyone else to redraft it correctly. On the wall behind his desk, framed in dark wood, hung a photograph of a chipped white mug and a half slice of buttered bread on a battered plastic tray on an upturned milk crate against a brick wall. Dated, time-stamped, filed under personal archive, not operational. He looked at it sometimes. He did not look at it for long. He had work to do. The mug and the bread did not need his looking. They had already done their looking, for him, on a morning when he had not been able to look up. She knelt before she knew his name. That is why he never knelt for anyone else again. If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Have you ever knelt to help someone the world had already decided wasn't worth helping, before you knew their name, their title, or what they could ever do for you? Have you ever been filmed, mocked, or punished for choosing decency in a place that rewarded cruelty? And when the truth finally arrived, did the people who laughed first ever look you in the eye again? Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about dignity, silent justice, and humanity, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.